Yeah, to your point, that's why he fell. It wasn't because people questioned the talent. It was because people questioned his health. There is no such concern with Nasir Little. He's still available because people question if he's a basketball player. People question if he can be anything more than what he was at North Carolina in the NBA, which is a total role player who doesn't live up to his natural ability. So we'll see. He'll get picked at some point. But I will say it does become a little sad. You feel badly for him because those cameras on that broadcast, he's sitting right there inside Barclays Center. They're going to keep focusing on him, and that is a lonely, lonely feeling. You talk to anybody who was projected at one point to be a top 5 pick, who is in that green room and who is still sitting there deep into the 20s, ask them to relive it, they'll tell you it was a nightmare. It feels like the seconds are ticking off way too slowly. For the young man's sake, I hope he gets picked soon because I don't like watching him have to sit through this as much as he is.
Avery, Nasir Little still on the board here. You surprised or are you concerned, though, with his basketball acumen, as Matt and Gary have pointed out?
Yeah, I'm not as surprised as maybe some folks around the country. I think Nasir has to try to brand himself being more than like a Kenneth Faried. That's a guy that was basically an undersized center, not as skilled. To compare him to Michael Porter in terms of falling in the draft, their skill set is totally different. Michael Porter, when healthy, could be an all-star type of a player and all-pro type of a player, but Little just has to continue to improve on his skill set, learning the game at a little bit more of an accelerated rate, and wherever he lands, if he can do that, then he'll be a really good NBA player.
All right, so the Boston Celtics on the clock. The pick is in at 22 overall. Maybe we'll see Nasir Little come off the board here, but we really don't know at this point what they're thinking. Again, they traded out of that spot. They did not trade out of 22. They traded out of 20 with Philadelphia. See what happens here, and it ends up being Grant Williams out of Tennessee for Boston. How about the back-to-back SEC Player of the Year headed to the Boston Celtics?
Grant Williams and his camp are extremely happy right now because there was real concern heading into the draft that he might have slipped out of the first round. I like the pick. Now, the concerns were that Grant Williams, for as good as he was back-to-back years, Tennessee helped that program to arguably its best season ever this past season. But had he played the best ball of his life at the college level, with the things that he could do really well, was that only going to be acceptable at the college level? Boston, if it keeps this pick, which I expect it to, but if it decides to ship it, clearly believes, or another franchise believes, that Grant Williams can be an impact player right away. He doesn't do any one thing exceptionally well, but he is just a good player. Like, if you have watched Grant Williams play multiple times, it is undeniable how good he is, how intelligent he is in the game. Great leadership, tremendous teammate here. I like this. I actually think this is a bit higher than almost everyone thought he would go, but I'm all in at this stage of the draft, GP. If I have seen you be consistently awesome, I will not denigrate the pick at all. I like it. I'd
give it a grade of a B, and I would reiterate a lot of the stuff Matt just said. Matt asked the question, I think rhetorically, what is he exceptional at? He's exceptional at playing basketball. He's an exceptional basketball player. And I understand that he's maybe not as tall as you'd want him to be for his position, maybe not as athletic as you'd want him to be for his position, but he played in the most athletic league in the country, and he got where he wanted to get consistently. He was the 2-time SEC Player of the Year for a reason. And if you just look back on recent drafts, the same thing people say about Grant Williams is what they said about totally different players, different positions, but you'll get the point. When you ask people about Fred VanVleet coming out of college, they'd say, I don't know if he's athletic enough, I don't know if he's tall enough, but man, he just knows how to play, just knows how to win. And we look up, Fred VanVleet went undrafted, but he just won a world championship, playing a key role here recently. Same thing they said about Jalen Brunson coming out of college last year. I don't know if he's tall enough, I don't know if he's good enough athlete, but man, he knows how to play, knows how to win, got drafted way lower than he'd get drafted if we redid that 2018 draft again tonight. It looks like NBA franchisers are learning. Let's just take guys who are awesome at basketball. Grant Williams is awesome at basketball. This is fine with me.
I do think we should acknowledge, though, that Boston, if indeed it keeps this pick, we kind of ragged on the Romeo Langford pick a little bit. Grant Williams is still not addressing a lot of the needs of the pure scoring they might need. Grant Williams' strength comes from rebounding, having a good knack and a good intelligence around the rim. He's fantastic at that kind of stuff, but I still think the Celtics are in real need of some long-distance shooting and some shot creators, shot makers, playmakers. Grant Williams isn't exactly that, so if you're a Celtics fan, you still have real concern here that you haven't gotten the kind of player that you might need in order to make sure you can accelerate, get back to the top of the Eastern Conference.
Reed, one thing we know for sure, Grant Williams is a winner, and he's got in terms of his character. I mean, he could go in there and bang bodies with the Celtics. I mean, he's not afraid in terms of giving his presence. We know what he did at Tennessee. You like this pick for Boston, Romeo Langford, and now Grant Williams?
I mean, I love this Grant Williams pick. And I think what's really telling about this is leading into this Boston pick, who are we talking about? We were talking about Nasir Little, a guy who has all the physical attributes of a basketball player, was considered a high-flying recruit, considered a top 5 pick coming into this season, who is still falling in this draft because he didn't know how to play basketball. He doesn't have that basketball IQ, at least not yet. Grant Williams is the exact opposite. I know he was the 2-time SEC Player of the Year. This is a guy who was ranked in the 200s nationally. I think he was around 280 in the nation coming out of high school. But what he does, he knows how to play the game. He's so incredibly smart. Just this intuitive basketball player who works his tail off. I remember talking to his family last season just about how much work he put into basketball, but also how he is this well-rounded young man. This is a guy who's going to fit in perfectly with Brad Stevens. And one more thing, when I talked with Rick Barnes, his coach at Tennessee about him, I asked him, who would you compare him to? What he said was P.J. Tucker. Guess who was P.J. Tucker's coach in college? It was Rick Barnes.
Avery, let me come to you. You faced this guy, Grant Williams. What did you see from him? Who's a comp? You just heard Reed say P.J. Tucker.
Well, if I was coaching in the NBA, this is the type of kid that I want on my team. Maybe he'll end up being an 8-man in a rotation for 12 or 15 years in his career, and that's okay. I know a lot of times people are more attracted to the sexiness of the NBA. Style over substance. This kid is about substance. He's the type of kid, on one hand, you would love to marry your daughter, but on the other hand, if you're in a foxhole or if you're in a tough playoff series that's going to go 7 games, he's not going to back down. He's not going to surrender. I know Coach Rick Barnes personally, and we've had some great conversations about this kid. He's just unbelievable. And when you're, the best player in the SEC, that says something, because the SEC basketball has been on the rise, especially over the last 2 years. So Grant Williams is a guy that you want on your team, and I think he'll be a really good rotation player.
All right, we are into the back half of the first round of the 2019 NBA Draft. When we continue, we'll continue to break down the picks as the 23rd overall pick is in. We'll break that down next. You're watching CBS Sports HQ, presented by Jeep.
Ours is a proud bloodline. We hail from the battlefields to the Badlands, from the mountains and the midtowns, from the islands to the highlands, and directly to those who understand that when you get behind the wheel, you're not just driving a Jeep Wrangler, you're joining a family.
It's tough to quit smoking cold turkey. So Chantix can help you quit slow turkey. Along with support, Chantix is proven to help you quit. With Chantix, you can keep smoking at first and ease into quitting. Chantix reduces the urge, so when the day arrives, you'll be more ready to kiss cigarettes goodbye. When you try to quit smoking, with or without Chantix, you may have nicotine withdrawal symptoms. Stop Chantix and get help right away if you have changes in behavior or thinking, aggression, hostility, depressed mood, suicidal thoughts or actions, seizures, new or worse heart or blood vessel problems, sleepwalking, or life-threatening allergic and skin reactions. Decrease alcohol use. Use caution driving or operating machinery. Tell your doctor if you've had mental health problems. The most common side effect is nausea. Quit smoking. Slow turkey. Talk to your doctor about Chantix.
You may never see a hat trick in person, but you can see your recurring payments with Control Tower. This is winning at banking. This is Wells Fargo.
Back here on CBS Sports HQ, our NBA draft coverage continues, presented by Jeep. Zion Williamson was the first overall player selected in the 2019 NBA draft, cheesing with Adam Silver. Ja Morant followed at number 2 to the Memphis Grizzlies, and then R.J. Barrett to the New York Knicks. He's going to go to work just down the street for the Knicks at MSG. We are at the 23rd overall pick. The 23rd overall pick made by the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it's Darius Bazley. And he was the 17th ranked player in the country in the class of 2018. Did not play post-high school, took an internship with New Balance, $1 million endorsement here that has even more incentives. And now he is going to be joining the Oklahoma City Thunder. Pretty fascinating story for Darius Bazley. Essentially bets on himself, and here he is, the 23rd overall pick.
He bets on himself, and he wins with this. I wouldn't have taken him in the first round. Again, what we don't know. Sure, he might have looked good in workouts, didn't play competitive basketball for a year. I'm sure has gotten to know Kawhi Leonard quite well, being a New Balance intern, and Kawhi Leonard now being the official spokesman under the NBA with that shoe. But to me, GP, this is too early. Maybe he winds up being a star. I know he impressed in some workouts here. I don't understand how Nasir Little is still out there and Bazley gets drafted. That's inexplicable to me. Maybe he turns up as a good player, but I'm not seeing it. I thought he should have gone.
I will say at some point, if I'm running an NBA franchise, I just take a swing in the 20s on the young man who was the MVP of the McDonald's game and the Jordan Brand Classic game a year ago. That is Nasir Little. But for Bazley, it's a fascinating story. Like you said, he bet on himself, and it paid off. And it's the latest example in a growing list of examples of NBA prospects from America who decide to skip college. They don't really cost themselves. It has worked out almost without exception. And so I will say, I would have probably swung on Little here as opposed to drafted Bazley, but all reports coming out of recent workouts were that he had been super impressive in terms of skill set at his size. You know, everybody is looking for long, skilled players who can play on the perimeter, put it on the floor, make a shot. He showed NBA people what he needed to show them in the pre-draft process, and this is the result of that.
All right, Reed, I'm going to come to you now. Darius Bazley here, the 23rd overall pick by the Oklahoma City Thunder. Your reaction to this pick?
Yeah, a long, talented, athletic player who spent the past year doing individual work on his game. This is a very intriguing pick by the Thunder, and I think what's most intriguing is what it says for the future of college basketball, for the future paths to the NBA. I mean, in a few years, the one-and-done rule will be out the window. Players will be able to go straight from college to the NBA. That's not necessarily the best route for some people. Some people, it's great to go to college for 1, 2, 3, 4 years. Some people, they find success going to Europe, going to China, going to Australia. That's the route less taken for sure. But what Darius Bazley has done over the past year is he has blazed a completely different route that potentially other future NBA players could follow.
All right, Boston's up next here, trading the number 24 pick to the Suns, according to an ESPN report. So, all right, the Suns are now back on the clock. Maybe the Suns go get Nasir Little.
Maybe, but what the stage we've hit now are the players with question marks but undeniable natural talent or athleticism. That's Little, that's Bol Bol, who's still out there, and that is Kevin Porter Jr. So if you're the Suns, do you want to take a chance on that with a relatively young roster, or do you want to try and get someone with more college experience, maybe more natural talent, Kelvin Johnson? To me, the screen you're looking at right there, Fiondu Kabengele is easily the pick. He is a fascinating case. He might be one of a kind in this. How many times have we ever had a player drafted in the first round or a player drafted, period, who was a multiple-year college player that never started a game? That's Kabengele. I would pick him if I was in that spot and I was Phoenix trading up. Maybe that's why they think there's a lot of value around there, but this is getting really intriguing and interesting right now.
Keep in mind, when Phoenix was picking early in the lottery, a lot of people thought that they would go point guard. Mm-hmm. They ended up not getting a point guard because they traded down to number 11. They ended up taking Cameron Johnson. The best point guard on the table right now available is Ty Jerome, the national champion from Virginia. So perhaps that would be a reasonable option.
And he, in fact, has been selected by the Suns at 24th overall. Ty Jerome, the national champ for the Virginia Cavaliers. Over the last 2 seasons, started all 71 games he's appeared in for a back-to-back 30-win Virginia team. And, of course, led him to the national championship alongside Kyle Guy and DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter hears his name a whole lot earlier as expected, but Ty Jerome headed to the Phoenix Suns at 24th overall.
You know what? I like the pick. Now, this just goes to show you, Ty Jerome held a litany of workouts. Indiana, Utah, Charlotte, Boston, Orlando, and a few others. Did not work out with the Suns. Doesn't matter. You see this happen all the time. Franchises will tap guys, identify guys that they think fit. Ty Jerome has had the word killer associated with him on a basketball court in the best possible way because he is just that. He is emotionless to his benefit on the floor, is not afraid to take any kind of shot, also extremely unselfish, impressive. Not the best athlete, but can handle well with both hands. I actually think that he is going to grow into a better defender than he's given credit for right now. I would have taken, say, Kabengele over Ty Jerome, but I have no issues with this whatsoever, GP. This is a great addition to a young roster. Ty Jerome is super mature, comes from that Virginia program. I like it.
My grade would be an A. I mean, we're talking about a 6'5" guard that can play either backcourt spot, dribble, pass, shoot, 40% from the three-point line. Obviously a winner. You cannot be a bad defensive player and play for Tony Bennett, so he's going to be able to guard his position. Like we pointed out earlier, I live in Memphis. Earlier, Memphis had the 23rd pick before they moved up to 21. But if Memphis were picking at 23, I had him projected this morning to take Ty Jerome. That's how much I think of him. I wanted him to live in my hometown. I like this for Phoenix.
Avery, your good friend Monty Williams going to get Ty Jerome here. Going to have a pretty good backcourt with Ty Jerome and Devin Booker, huh?
Yes. Again, we've had kids get drafted that are, one and dones. We've had a kid get drafted that didn't even attend college last year that worked for New Balance. But we've also had guys like Grant Williams that have stayed in college 3 years and Ty Jerome who've won a national championship. So kids that have won and that have been a part of some great cultures are now getting rewarded by being drafted in the first round. And when you have new coaches that are coming in like Monty Williams that are trying to reset the culture, that's very important. I don't know if they're drafting Ty Jerome to start in the backcourt with Devin Booker. Maybe they're drafting him to be a backup for a guy that I continue to say that they're going to get either via free agency or by trade. But this is an incredible pick for the Phoenix Suns. I know they're awfully happy with this pick. I give this pick an A-.
Reed, you like this pick? A-, Avery says, for Ty Jerome headed to the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, I mean, it fits their perfect need. They need a point guard to go alongside Devin Booker. I'm not sure if Ty Jerome has star quality. You're not going to get a star at this point in the draft unless you're taking an absolute home run swing on a guy that you could miss in a major way, like Nasir Little, like Kevin Porter Jr., like Bol, the guys we're talking about. This feels like a very safe pick. It's a guy who is a proven winner. He may not have elite athleticism, but he has excellent size for a guard. And he can shoot. He can run a team. So, yeah, I think this is a pretty good pick, especially considering where in the draft they're getting him.
All right, we're 24 picks into the 2019 NBA Draft. Portland. The Portland Trailblazers on the clock right now with the 25th overall pick. Nasir Little still on the board. Find out if he's going to be still on the board after their pick. You're watching CBS Sports HQ presented by Jeep.
glass for two, and he's going back to the line. Pass to Little for the two-handed finish. Goodness gracious. Little's going to pull up for the three. Yes.
Ours is a proud bloodline. We hail from the battlefields to the Badlands, from the mountains and the midtowns, from the islands to the highlands, and directly to those who understand that when you get behind the wheel, you're not just driving a Jeep Wrangler, you're joining a family.
It's tough to quit smoking cold turkey. So Chantix can help you quit slow turkey. Along with support, Chantix is proven to help you quit. With Chantix, you can keep smoking at first and ease into quitting. Chantix reduces the urge, so when the day arrives, you'll be more ready to kiss cigarettes goodbye. When you try to quit smoking, with or without Chantix, you may have nicotine withdrawal symptoms. Stop Chantix and get help right away if you have changes in behavior or thinking, aggression, hostility, depressed mood, suicidal thoughts or actions, seizures, new or worse heart or blood vessel problems, sleepwalking, or life-threatening allergic and skin reactions. Decrease alcohol use. Use caution driving or operating machinery. Tell your doctor if you've had mental health problems. The most common side effect is nausea. Quit smoking slow turkey. Talk to your doctor about Chantix.
What's easier than scoring on an open goal? Mobile deposit from Wells Fargo. This is winning at banking. This is Wells Fargo.
Back here on CBS Sports HQ, our NBA draft coverage continues, presented by Jeep. You're looking at the best available players right now: Nasir Little, Kevin Porter Jr., Bol, Keldon Johnson, and Fiondu Kabengele, the nephew of Dikembe Mutombo. Who's going to go next? Will it be Nasir Little? Will it be Fiondu Kabengele? Matt, you know that's my guy out of Florida State. Be a pretty good pick if Portland went that way, but there's still some really good talent on the board.
There's a lot of good talent on the board. Your guy is Kyle Guy, by the way, who deserves to get picked in the second round, but we'll get to that in just a couple of hours here. Listen, Nasir, it is time for Nasir Little. We can no longer have the situation where, okay, and there we go. He just got
there
picked.
It is. It is his time.
Okay.
And he's wearing Portland Trailblazers colors. How about that, GP?
He knew what he was doing.
There you go. He knew all along he's going to Portland. He's going to play alongside Damian Lillard.
Nasir Little, a part of the deep state, knowing what was happening while no one else did there, and getting drafted with the red and black colors there. I like it for Portland, man. I do. At this point, what else can you say? A tremendous athlete, had some inconsistency there with North Carolina, but if you're Portland and he falls to you, this is a no-brainer, because, I mean, clearly the teams before didn't have Little as high as 20, 21, 22, 23 on their board, but Portland takes it. I like it.
You know, on the Sportsline show earlier tonight, we discussed over-unders in terms of where players are projected to get picked. Nasir Little's was 12.5, and so he went way deeper into this draft than the odds makers thought, and basically every draft analyst believed. I'm with Matt. At this point in the draft, I don't really care. You just take him. I mean, the odds of even getting a relevant player in the 20s are so low anyway. Like, you're probably not going to land somebody you care about 3 years from now. So why not just roll the dice on a guy who was the MVP of the 2018 McDonald's All-American game, the MVP of the Jordan Brand Classic game, a guy who was, this time last year, projected to be perhaps the number 2 pick in the draft behind R.J. Barrett. His fall reminds me a little bit, and frankly for similar reasons, to the fall of Skal Labissiere a few years back. Skal entered college at Kentucky as some people's projected number 1 overall pick, top 5 by everybody, fell into the 20s for similar reasons. Got to Kentucky, could not play. The argument then was maybe John Calipari misused him. Perhaps the argument here is Nasir Little just got stuck in Chapel Hill behind two quality upperclassmen. If you're Portland, you hope that's what that was. You don't hope it's the alternative, which is he just wasn't a very good basketball player. But I will wrap it up with this. When I talk to people around that program early in the season, because it jumps off the page. Here's a 5-star projected top 5 pick who's barely playing at North Carolina. What is the problem? I was told that when they got him on campus, they realized pretty quickly he didn't, quote, know how to play. And when you don't know how to play and they've got two seniors in front of you who do know how to play, good luck getting on the court. Hopefully Nasir Little can reach whatever potential most people think he has at some point in Portland.
Avery, based on what you just heard there from Gary Parrish, how would you coach Nasir Little at the NBA level?
Well, first of all, I would tell him he needs to be a specialist. All right, you need to be a defender and a rebounder and a screener, and especially going to play with McCallum and Lillard. Those guys are great offensive players. They need you to help slow down some of the high-paced offenses that they face, especially as they move deeper in the playoffs. But he's going to have to defend, rebound, block shots, be a screener on offense. He doesn't have to try to expand his game and prove to people that he's a great ball handler or a passer or a three-point shooter. He needs to have he needs to define himself, especially early in his NBA career for the first 2 or 3 years, and then try to continue to grow and develop. But they have enough scores, they have enough shooters. He's got to go in there and be a hard hat guy.
I love what Avery just said there, because guys who are MVPs of all-star games coming out of high school never think that they need to be a specialist. They think they need to be Kevin Durant or LeBron James or Kobe Bryant. But the truth is, very few guys are great at lots of things in the NBA. If you're great at lots of things in the NBA, you're an MVP candidate. You're a perennial all-star. But if you want to stick in that league for a long time, be great at one thing. Can you guard your position better than anybody else? Can you rebound better than anybody else? Can you rim protect better than anybody else? And I think Avery's advice is perfect advice. Somebody should shuttle it along to Nasir Little. If you're going to be an all-star, let's worry about that another day. But starting your NBA career, find the thing that you're best equipped to do to help a team win immediately, because he's joining a playoff team. They're going to be competing for something from day one. Find the thing you can do well to get you on that court, and then we'll work on everything else later.
Reed, Terry Stotts coach him up and see what he can do, right?
Yeah, I mean, but certainly possibly that is a coach who is well respected in NBA circles. I guarantee you that when Neil O'Shea woke up this morning, he thought there would be zero chance that a guy of Nasir Little's pure talent would be available when the Blazers are picking in the mid-20s. And yet when he falls to him, you just got to take the risk. At some point in the draft, the reward outweighs the risk. This is not a similar situation to Michael Porter Jr. and how Michael Porter Jr. fell last year. That was all because of medicals. This is because, as Gary said, this guy doesn't know how to play, at least not yet. But the similarity is when he got picked, the team just saw it as a gift. And even if he didn't work out there, you just got to say, you know what? We're going to take a flyer on this dude.
His tangibles are hard to overlook. 6'6", 225. 7'1" wingspan. I mean, you know what you're getting in terms of his body type, what he can do, if he can defend. It's the intangibles that are the big question. That's what basically has been the consensus here.
Yeah, that, and he needs to be a more consistent jump shooter beyond all of that. The acumen can definitely echo what GP passed along in terms of the coaching staff's concerns. This has just been fascinating to see. Kobe White going 7, which no one had a year ago. Cameron Johnson going 11, which no one had 90 minutes ago. And then Nasir Little doing what he's been able to do in falling unexpectedly. He was the number 3 rated recruit coming out of high school. Skal Labissiere out of Kentucky is the only recent moderate comparison to this. You just don't see guys like this who are so highly regarded, have a one-and-done year, drop so precipitously That happened with Nasir Little for a number of reasons, and whatever he needed to prove or disprove over the past couple of months clearly didn't happen there. Defense first, no doubt about it. He's got a long way to go to work on that shot.
How about what the Cleveland Cavaliers just did? Dylan Windler out of Belmont, Matt. There you go. That's your guy.
That's my guy.
20s. He's in the first round.
Oh, my gosh. Dylan
Is this
Windler.
a what are we doing, or this is good?
This is good. No, this is good. A Rick Bird player?
I know.
Are you going to besmirch Rick Bird?
I would never besmirch him.
I know you wouldn't, and I know GP wouldn't. That's our guy there. Dylan Windler goes to Belmont because of the Eye on College Basketball podcast.
That's
by the way,
fact.
we will retell that story on the pod. Be sure to check it out Friday morning wherever you download your podcasts. But Dylan Windler, probably a top 3, top 5 shooter in this draft. Extremely intelligent. Fun fact about him. Unranked coming out of high school. So we've had 3 first-round picks, not ranked. Ja Morant, Brandon Clark, now Dylan Windler. Was probably a better golfer than he was a basketball player until about 20 years old. I spoke with his college coach, Rick Bird, of course.
Same for me, by the way.
There we go. Of course, there's no doubt about it. Rick Bird told me that he was considered a viable NBA player about midway through his junior season, but he wasn't assertive enough. As finally, once he started getting a little more selfish with the ball, that's when the NBA started to really pay attention. Great natural athlete. It wasn't, I am not nearly putting Dylan Windler on the same level as Zion Williamson. But what I've had, listen to what I'm about to tell you here. What I've had multiple,
I'm listening.
What I've had multiple people tell me is that Dylan Windler is an extremely natural athlete. If he decided at the age of 14 that he wanted to go and become a professional baseball player, he could have done that. If he wanted to chase being a professional golfer, he could have done that. He chose basketball. He's going to be a first-round pick. And this is no surprise. I was told a couple of days ago, John Beilein was enamored with Dylan Windler. Lo and behold, here we go. Cleveland Cavaliers are going to take him.
That's the point I was going to make. I don't know how much input John had in the draft process in Cleveland. Coaches are sometimes removed from that, but you'd be crazy not to at least get his input. And it doesn't surprise me that a John Beilein coach team would select who they've selected so far tonight. Darius Garland, Dylan Windler. What are they both? Super skilled. Very different players, different positions, but both super skilled, great shooters that should work perfectly in a system John Beilein puts in place there in Cleveland.
Avery, how about John Beilein now getting to work with your guy, Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, and now Dylan Windler, a kid out of Belmont?
Dylan Windler, wow, this is amazing to show the maturation and growth of a player. You guys know you have these secret scrimmages but prior to college seasons that you're not supposed to talk about publicly until those scrimmages are complete. And we scrimmaged Belmont my first year coaching at Alabama. And this kid was just a little slinky kid, really wasn't that strong, didn't play that much in the scrimmage. I think he was like the 10th man. And I think maybe he even started one game that year. But wow, what an improvement. Kid that got better. Rick Bird is a hell of a coach. But this kid just continued to get better and better. And what a surprise in the first round, and especially for me, having seen this kid 4 years ago.
How about this? Through 26 picks, the Ohio Valley Conference has had more players drafted than the Big Ten. Ja Morant, Dylan Windler. Meanwhile, only Romeo Langford out of Indiana has been drafted out of the Big Ten.
So hope you had the over on the MVC.
There we go.
OVC.
Yes.
Hopefully on the OVC. Hopefully you had
and the under on the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And Tim Doyle earlier had the over, but he mentioned that he was reaching a little bit. It looks like he was reaching.
How about that? OVC. How about that? The OVC. John Morant, Dylan Windler, the latest pick to go to the Cleveland Cavaliers at 26 overall. The Brooklyn Nets are on the clock, but actually they're not. They have traded that pick to the Clippers. We'll break that down next on our NBA Draft Show here on CBS Sports HQ, presented by Jeep.
Ours is a proud bloodline. We hail from the battlefields to the Badlands, from the mountains and the midtowns, from the islands to the highlands, and directly to those who understand that when you get behind the wheel, you're not just driving a Jeep Wrangler, you're joining a family.
It's tough to quit smoking cold turkey. So Chantix can help you quit slow turkey. Along with support, Chantix is proven to help you quit. With Chantix, you can keep smoking at first and ease into quitting. Chantix reduces the urge, so when the day arrives, you'll be more ready to kiss cigarettes goodbye. When you try to quit smoking, with or without Chantix, you may have nicotine withdrawal symptoms. Stop Chantix and get help right away if you have changes in behavior or thinking, aggression, hostility, depressed mood, suicidal thoughts or actions, seizures, new or worse heart or blood vessel problems, sleepwalking, or life-threatening allergic and skin reactions. Decrease alcohol use. Use caution driving or operating machinery. Tell your doctor if you've had mental health problems. The most common side effect is nausea. Quit smoking slow turkey. Talk to your doctor about Chantix.
What's easier than scoring on an open goal? Mobile deposit from Wells Fargo. This is winning at banking. This is Wells Fargo.
And with that, we say hello and welcome to our NBA draft coverage on CBS Sports HQ, presented by Jeep. I am Hakeem Dermish, alongside Gary Parrish, CBS Sports college basketball insider, Matt Norlander, CBS Sports senior college basketball writer, and Avery Johnson, a man who was undrafted in 1988, but then became an NBA champion with the San Antonio Spurs, and an NBA Coach of the Year with the Dallas Mavericks. Former Alabama head coach. Happy to have you on the program here. And what a night it was in the NBA draft. Zion Williamson going #1 overall. I'm going to start with you, Avery. Zion Williamson, the impact in New Orleans for that organization is what?
That organization is having a Mardi Gras parade. They're excited. When you can bring a talent like Zion to the city of New Orleans, the Big Easy, and it's not just the home of the New Orleans Saints anymore, it's the home of the New Orleans Pelicans. And when you lose an Anthony Davis and now you can replace him with a Zion who's a transcendent talent. I haven't seen a guy come into the NBA with this much hype since LeBron James, and he's earned it. Great talent, 6'6", maybe with his shoes on, 285 pounds, freak athlete, underrated passer and defender, but a guy that's going to put a lot of people in the seats. It's unbelievable, the Saints ticket office, how busy they were when they knew they were going to get the first pick in the draft. So I'm really excited for the city of New Orleans and for the New Orleans Pelicans franchise.
You're a New Orleans guy. What's your advice for Zion Williamson as he heads down to the Big Easy?
Mainly make sure you surround yourself with the right people. And it seems like, you know, with his family, obviously his stepfather has a significant role in his life. But just make sure you keep your circle small. Take care of your body, work on your body, because I think he needs to lose a little bit of weight. Especially to go through a rigorous NBA season, and just have fun. Enjoy the moment. Don't have any unrealistic expectations where you're going to have 1,000 pounds on your shoulders every night. Social media is doing that enough. But just enjoy the ride. And when you encounter some adversity, know that this is not like a college basketball season. You're going to play 3 college basketball seasons, and depending how far they go this year, it could be even more. So just enjoy the ride, and just know that there's always going to be a tomorrow, because in an NBA season, you can play sometime 4 games in a week.
Well said by Avery Johnson there, who had his number retired by the San Antonio Spurs. Perhaps one day Zion Williamson will have his number retired by the New Orleans Pelicans, the first overall pick in the 2019 NBA draft. As for the latest pick in the NBA draft, the 27th overall pick made by the LA Clippers, they've taken my guy, Mfiondu Kabengele, the nephew of the Hall of Famer Dikembe Mutombo, Florida State standout. Your thoughts here, Matt, on the Clippers getting Mfiondu Kabengele?
Love it. Had him 19 on my mock draft. I think this is a great bargain. I think this is going to go down as one of my 5 favorite value picks of the draft. Extremely smart player, can play the 4 or the 5, has really good touch, can shoot from deep, effective, efficient, intelligent. Was not even seen as a viable prospect coming out of high school where he played in Canada, did a prep year in Indiana. It was then that he got noticed by Florida State's assistant coaching staff. They recruited him effectively to FSU. Did not start a game in college, and yet look at him. First rounder. Awesome story. There was some mild concern early on about the health of his knees because he preferred to wear braces around him. Turned out to be just a style thing as much as it helped him play, but he's fully healthy, and I think he'll be an impact player within 3 years.
Yeah, to Matt's point, Kabengele's knees checked out fine at the combine, and once he got a clean bill of health and showed all of the things that he can do, his draft stock shot through the roof. I had him in the top 20, so if you can get him at 27, that's a as far as I'm concerned from a draft perspective. At this point in any draft, you're just trying to get value. Kabengele at this point, I think, is real value.
I want to see him do this. That's what I want to see him do, a la his uncle, Hall of Famer Dikembe Mutombo. That's pretty awesome. Avery, Mfiondu Kabengele, big guy, headed to the Clippers. Your thoughts?
Another versatile player. Leonard Hamilton doesn't get enough credit for developing and sending guys to the NBA, and I think this is a great pick. Again, the NBA is about versatility, guys that can switch pick and rolls, and if he's healthy, if his knees check out, I think he's going to be a great asset.
All right, Reed Forgrave, Mfiondu Kabengele, the product out of Florida State, headed to the Clippers.
Yeah, things coming up aces for the LA Clippers once again. Maybe this just indicates that they're going to have good luck come July and get Kawhi Leonard on this team, and then this is immediately a championship contending team. I love Kabengele. I'm with Mr. Norlander. I think this is going to be one of the top 5 value picks in this draft. He's tall, he's strong, he's a good athlete, he's a versatile player, and he can make the 3. I mean, what is there to not like about this young man?
Golden State's on the clock right now at 28th overall. Reed, I want to stay with you here because we don't really know the future of the Golden State Warriors. What's Kevin Durant going to do? Klay Thompson expected to sign a max deal, stay there in Oakland as they shift now to San Francisco with their $1 billion stadium. What's the future of the Golden State Warriors as they look to make the 28th pick here?
Yeah, I mean, it is utter uncertainty. So do you go with pick a guy who can contribute immediately, maybe an upperclassman, maybe get a shooter who can do the type of things that, at least along the lines of the things that Klay Thompson can do on a basketball court? Or do you go with someone who's more of a project, who, when these core players do eventually get over the hill, that's a guy who they can develop and that can be a starter on this team? I'm not sure which way they can go, and frankly, I'm not sure which way that they should go. This is an organization that is in utter disarray through nothing of their own doing.
Draymond Green says we're not done yet. Steph Curry says the story is still continuing for us. You don't count us out here. At 28, who are you taking? Bol still on the board. Kevin Porter Jr. still on the board. KZ Okpala, the talented kid out of Stanford. Keldon Johnson still there for Kentucky.
You know who I like most? Is someone you didn't even mention but got a green room invite, Nick Claxton. I spoke to Tom Crean, Claxton's college coach, a couple of days ago. He said indications from NBA franchises were that Nick was likely to be first-round pick, and in fact he got a green room invite, which would signify that. But I think that he, because of his defensive ability, he's closing in on 7 feet. He was trained actually by Crean as a guard to try and accelerate him along his NBA path. If I was Golden State, Claxton would make a lot of sense here for me with what we could do. But in fact, they go with. We are having some shockers here.
Is he in the crowd?
Jordan Poole.
I don't even think he's at his own table.
No, because he didn't get a
right. So he's just chilling out in the crowd like everybody else.
Just hanging out in the crowd.
This happens occasionally. You'll have guys because they don't get the invite. They're like, no,
yeah, I'm still
I
going.
want to be there. I want to be there. I can be there. Jordan Poole as a first-round pick.
John Beeline's happy right now.
He is happy. Golden State as a franchise with their front office has done so many great things over the past half decade and beyond here. I don't see this. I think Jordan Poole has a lot of growing to do with his game. Solid shooter, but undersized. I know that Golden State's going to have issues with not having Clay and then Kevin Durant and all this stuff, if he's going to come back or not. I don't see how Jordan Poole cracks more than 5 or 6 minutes a game on that roster, even with that. Golden State sees something, but to me, Jordan Poole was not a top 50 prospect in this draft.
Yeah, this doesn't make sense to me. I would give it a D grade.
Okay.
Jordan Poole is a fine college basketball player who might turn into a relevant rotation guy in the NBA, but with so many upside guys on the board, if you're Golden State, I'd either want to get somebody with more upside or somebody who I think can help me next season. I'm not sure Jordan Poole's either one of those things.
Avery, what do you make of this pick? Jordan Poole to the Golden State Warriors at 28 overall.
Well, I wouldn't quite give it a D. I would give it a C minus.
That's close to a
D. Enough. C minus D doesn't matter.
But I just think this is primarily with Klay Thompson's injury in mind. Not that Jordan Poole can replace Klay Thompson. They're just looking at, in their mind, who's the best player available, that when Steph Curry breaks down the defense, he can kick it out to somebody that can shoot. You're going to miss Klay Thompson. Kevin Durant's going to, whether he leaves via free agent or returns and picks up his one-year option or leaves and goes to the Knicks. You got to have guys that can shoot the ball. And I think they're under the assumption that this kid can come in and make shots for him. They don't need him to be a playmaker. They're just thinking about somebody that when Draymond is breaking the defense down, Steph is moving without the ball, they probably think he can be a guy that can move without the ball. He's not a great pick and roll player when he's on the ball, but he's definitely somebody that can space the floor.
Reed, it's expected that Klay Thompson will sign his max deal, stay with Golden State. We, of course, don't know what Kevin Durant's going to do, have a redshirt season, opt in, take the money, and rehab with Golden State instead of going elsewhere. We don't know in terms of what he's going to do. Klay Thompson probably going to stay with the Golden State Warriors. With that being said, do you like this pick, Jordan Poole, by the Warriors?
Maybe the worst pick in the draft so far.
There we go.
And there's nothing against Jordan Poole. No offense, dude. I think the guy could be a rotation NBA player someday. But if you're going to get a guy who can come in and make shots, you're picking a sophomore. You're picking a guy who's 20 years old and has some growth to do. This is a guy that you likely could have gotten as an undrafted free agent. So this is such an overdraft. Like we talk about that Cam Johnson pick at number 11 being an overdraft. This is much more of an overdraft. There's less at stake here because you're picking in the low 20s. You're not picking in the lottery. But this is an absolutely inexplicable pick by the Warriors.
All right, so just to recap here, Gary says it's a D. Avery says it's a C minus, which is essentially a D. And then basically, without saying anything, Reed there, he basically gave it an F. It was the worst pick of the draft. I mean, that's basically what he gave it, right? He said it was the worst pick in the draft. That would be equal to an F, that they failed. The Golden State Warriors haven't failed much in the last 5 years. They did fail this past year in the NBA Finals, but they go with Jordan Poole at 28 overall. 2 more picks left in the first round. Coming up next, San Antonio and then Detroit with the final pick of the first round. We'll break that down next here on CBS Sports HQ, presented by Jeep.
Ours is a proud bloodline. We hail from the battlefields to the Badlands, from the mountains and the midtowns, from the islands to the highlands, and directly to those who understand that when you get behind the wheel, you're not just driving a Jeep Wrangler, you're joining a family.
It's tough to quit smoking cold turkey. So Chantix can help you quit slow turkey. Along with support, Chantix is proven to help you quit. With Chantix, you can keep smoking at first and ease into quitting. Chantix reduces the urge, so when the day arrives, you'll be more ready to kiss cigarettes goodbye. When you try to quit smoking, with or without Chantix, you may have nicotine withdrawal symptoms. Stop Chantix and get help right away if you have changes in behavior or thinking, aggression, hostility, depressed mood, suicidal thoughts or actions, seizures, new or worse heart or blood vessel problems, sleepwalking, or life-threatening allergic and skin reactions. Decrease alcohol use. Use caution driving or operating machinery. Tell your doctor if you've had mental health problems. The most common side effect is nausea. Quit smoking. Slow turkey. Talk to your doctor about Chantix.
You may never see a hat trick in person, but you can see your recurring payments with Control Tower. This is winning at banking. This is Wells Fargo.
The 29th overall pick is in. The San Antonio Spurs have selected Kentucky freshman Keldon Johnson. In fact, he was the 2018-2019 SEC Freshman of the Year, all SEC second team as well. One of four Kentucky players to average double digits points per game. P.J. Washington, Tyler Hero, who have already been drafted. So the third Kentucky player is Keldon Johnson, headed to the San Antonio Spurs. Back here on CBS Sports HQ, our NBA draft coverage continues, presented by Jeep. Let's bring in Avery Johnson here. He played for the Spurs, won an NBA title for the Spurs. Keldon Johnson headed to San Antonio, Avery.
Yeah, back-to-back years where I liked the Spurs pick. You know, Lonnie Walker last year out of Miami, and now Keldon out of Kentucky. Both guys with great size and physique. Keldon obviously needs to continue to improve from behind the three-point line, but he has a Joe Johnson type of a body, and he can use his body to get his shot off, especially in one-on-one situations. And you know, I remember a time when John Calipari, his coach, said, "Look, I need you to rebound more," and he went out and rebounded the basketball at a high level. So really excited about this pick. Obviously, he's going to be playing for a Hall of Fame coach, and Coach Popovich, and who's my mentor, and he's going to be playing in front of some great fans. So what a great pick for the Spurs, especially at the end of the first round. The Spurs have been legendary year after year. R.C. Buford, their president or general manager, have done an incredible job of finding gems at the end of the first round.
Yeah, if you are Keldon Johnson, you did not want to be picked this low. You didn't expect to be picked this low, but silver lining, you got picked by the San Antonio Spurs, and that's usually a good place because I think you could reasonably argue nobody develops prospects better than that San Antonio franchise. So this is a good spot for him, and I think a good pick for San Antonio. Depending on what you think of Bowl, Keldon Johnson was probably best prospect available at this point. I would give that pick an A.
Yeah, maybe best prospect available. I'm not enamored with Keldon Johnson. I think he's just a step below what Kevin Knox was a year ago. But San Antonio is a good spot for him to land at. They can turn him into something special, at least for his talent level.
Reed, let me bring you in here. Keldon Johnson headed to the San Antonio Spurs. Your reaction, you like this pick?
I love this pick. This is the Spurs doing Spurs things. 3 years ago, they were picking at 29. They got DeJounte Murray, an all-NBA defender type player. 2 years ago, they were picking at 29. They got Derek White. We saw him show out in the playoffs. That is a winning NBA player. This year, they're picking at, guess what, 29, and they get an absolute steal in Keldon Johnson. I don't believe Keldon Johnson is going to turn into a star. But this is just one more example of other NBA teams. You can only blame yourselves when the Spurs do this because you are the ones who passed on these players. They go to the Spurs, and the Spurs turn them into something.
All right, at the 30th spot, the Cleveland Cavaliers have traded back into the first round here, making a deal with the Pistons. Cavaliers here, they're going to have another rookie for John Beilein. They got Darius Garland, they got Dylan Windler, and now they're going to have another first-round pick, 3 first-round picks for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yeah,
it appears that they're in total rebuild mode, which they are,
right.
And really giving John Beilein some interesting young pieces to work with. Again, depending, and I feel like we need to say this every time at this point, depending on what you think of Bol Bol, which might just be an undraftable player for a certain franchise, the best prospect on the board is probably Kevin Porter from USC. The only reason he's still available this deep into the draft is because questions about stuff off the court. He had a lot of questions tied to him when he enrolled in college in the Pac-12, and he really didn't do much to alleviate any of those questions. He was injured part of the year. He was suspended part of the year. That's why he's going to be picked late in the first round or early in the second at best at this point. But from my perspective, he's worth the roll of the dice right now because the upside is undeniable, even if the off-the-court stuff is also a real thing.
All right, just to recap here, the Pistons have traded the rights to the number 30 pick to the Cleveland Cavaliers. So the Cleveland Cavaliers now on the clock. We'll see what they do as we head to break here on CBS Sports HQ, our NBA draft coverage presented by Jeep. Keep it locked.
Ours is a proud bloodline. We hail from the battlefields to the Badlands. From the mountains and the midtowns. From the islands to the highlands. And directly to those who understand that when you get behind the wheel, you're not just driving a Jeep Wrangler. You're joining a family.
It's tough to quit smoking cold turkey. So Chantix can help you quit slow turkey. Along with support, Chantix is proven to help you quit. With Chantix, you can keep smoking at first and ease into quitting. Chantix reduces the urge, so when the day arrives, you'll be more ready to kiss cigarettes goodbye. When you try to quit smoking, with or without Chantix, you may have nicotine withdrawal symptoms. Stop Chantix and get help right away if you have changes in behavior or thinking, aggression, hostility, depressed mood, suicidal thoughts or actions, seizures, new or worse heart or blood vessel problems, sleepwalking, or life-threatening allergic and skin reactions. Decrease alcohol use. Use caution driving or operating machinery. Tell your doctor if you've had mental health problems. The most common side effect is nausea. Quit smoking slow turkey. Talk to your doctor about Chantix.
What's easier than scoring on an open goal? Mobile deposit from Wells Fargo. This is winning at banking. This is Wells Fargo.
Back here on CBS Sports HQ, our NBA draft coverage presented by Jeep. And with the 30th overall pick, the Cleveland Cavaliers make a deal with the Detroit Pistons. They get the rights to Kevin Porter Jr. Plenty of emotional, powerful, inspirational stories in this NBA draft. Kevin Porter Jr., of course, one of them. His father was shot and killed when he was 4 years old, playing in his honor, playing in his legacy. He goes to USC, very talented player at USC, and he declares after his freshman season, 6'6", 216, very talented player that the Cavaliers are getting now because now they pair him, Darius Garland, and Dylan Windler. Now Kevin Porter Jr., the latest Cavalier. So it's John Beilein with these 3 young players that he's going to mold and develop into NBA professionals.
So fascinating haul here for the Cleveland Cavaliers because they got 3 really skilled guys. But whereas Windler, I think, is a fairly reliable player for the slot that he was picked at, guys, Garland, a ton of mystery because of his low game intake with the Vanderbilt Commodores. And then Kevin Porter Jr., he falls this far because of just some concerns away from the core and just a little bit of consistency issues on it. But you talk to some scouts, and they believe that if Kevin Porter Jr. Gets his act together and reaches his ceiling from a talent perspective, a top 7, top 8 talent in this draft, playing for a coach like John Beilein, who's going to be obviously going through an experience he's never had before, coaching the NBA franchise, it's going to be interesting. At this spot, GP, would you agree with me? Like, I have no issues with them taking a chance here, considering it's their 3rd pick, Cleveland, and you're trying to build something. He's got good talent.
This is exactly what I would do with the 30th pick, particularly if it were the 3rd first-round pick that I was using in this draft. Take a flyer on a guy that's got incredible upside. If everybody in this draft, perhaps this is the simplest way to put it, if everybody in this draft becomes exactly what their potential suggests they should become, Kevin Porter will be one of the 10 best players from this draft. The questions are, I don't want to say all off the court, but mostly off the court. And I should say, just to be fair and provide context, this young man has been through a lot in his life. His father was shot and killed, as you pointed out, when he was very, very young. And you could probably just do a Google search and figure out what that does to a young person and the types of challenges it presents. And so when you say there are personal red flags, perhaps no fault of his own.
Sure.
And so you hope, for the sake of, or in the spirit of just rooting for any young person, that this is a night that helps him break through. It's clearly a dream realized, and he goes and finds hopefully proper structure in Cleveland and becomes everything his ability suggests he should be able to be.
Avery, I'm going to bring you in here now because Kevin Porter Jr., certainly emotional in this moment, playing in honor of his father, his late father. Was just 4 years old. He was shot and killed in a Seattle bar. These are the stories that come out of this NBA draft. And you look at these young men who are now given millions of dollars and a lot of pressure upon them. When you look at Kevin Porter Jr., what would your advice be to him as he comes into the league?
Well, this young man is a great example of how a setback can be a setup for a comeback. And this kid, went to college and tried to turn his life around and be an inspiration to his family. And my advice would be to stay in the gym. Stay in the gym around the clock. All of the great players do that. Stay in the gym and stay out of trouble. And if you can do that on a consistent basis, you could very well become one of the top 10 players in the next 3 or 4 years in this draft, because talent isn't an issue with this kid. It's just making good decisions. We don't necessarily need him to act like he's a 40-year-old kid married with 3 kids. But if he makes good decisions off the floor, if he's coachable, he continues to improve on a day-out and day-in basis, work on his body. This is a kid that has a high ceiling. But what a great present for Coach John Beilein to have 3 rookies, 3 sponges that he'll have an opportunity to coach on a daily basis. And that's why he went out and hired a guy like J.B. Bickerstaff as his associate head coach to help him transition to the NBA as he helps these young rookies transition to the NBA.
Reed, is Porter Jr. here? Is this a guy we look back in a couple of years ago? He was drafted 30th overall. Wow, he slid way down. Is this a situation we might see in the future?
Yeah, I mean, he certainly could be. We keep talking about these character issues, and frankly, that was one thing that held Mitchell Robinson back into the 2nd round last year. He did pretty darn well for himself with the New York Knicks. So with Kevin Porter Jr., I was talking with a scout the other day, and what he told me is this is the type of guy, when he gets in a workout scenario, that just turns heads, that walks into the gym, and you're just like, wow, that is an NBA player. So if you're the Cavs and you're drafting at 30 and you're looking for stars, why not? Why not take a risk on this young man?
Reed makes a great point bringing up Mitchell Robinson, because that's exactly why Mitchell Robinson dropped as far as he dropped in the 2018 NBA draft. People didn't know if they could trust him. And obviously, we're still very early in his career. Things could go off the rails, I suppose, at any point. But we redrafted the 2018 draft here on CBS Sports HQ earlier this week. Mitchell Robinson was a top 10 pick. So If you're one of the franchises that passed on him, perhaps you watched him have an incredible rookie season and realized maybe the smart thing to do is set some stuff aside and focus on talent. And if you focus on talent with Kevin Porter Jr., you see a lot of things you like.
Right now, in terms of early winners of this NBA draft, you'd have to talk about the Memphis Grizzlies and the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? At this point, the two teams. I mean, they've done a pretty good job in terms of their picks.
Yeah, I love what Memphis has done here. I'd list them near the top. I think the Clippers getting Cavangeli, that's a big-time win for me, considering how far he fell. To me, they clearly benefit. And then I actually like what the Hawks did. I like them moving up into the 4 spot, making sure they got DeAndre Hunter. Have no issue with that overall. But it's been interesting so far. And as we get ready for the second round, I mean, trades have already been heavy in the first round. Nearly half of all the picks have been traded. I expect that to continue, if not even to a larger degree for the final 30 picks.
It's been fun watching this night for Memphis as a Memphian because that front office did some nice things over the years, but also didn't have great draft nights. Hasheem Thabeet going second overall in a James Harden, Steph Curry draft being the largest example. They totally redid the front office this offseason. And now they've got Jason Wexler as the president of basketball operations. He's a lawyer with no traditional basketball background. Zach Kleiman is the general manager now of the Memphis Grizzlies, a lawyer, no traditional basketball background, and he's only 30 years old. And those guys, along with the people surrounding them, have, I think, knocked it out of the park this week, getting the haul they got from Mike Conley yesterday, and then going, I think, in terms of grades, A and A with John Morant and Brandon Clark. They have gone a long way to alleviating some concerns about can this young-ish front office really run a basketball franchise. So far, they're doing great.
11 o'clock in the East, the first round is over. It's in the books. Zion Williamson, the first overall pick. And it's Kevin Porter Jr. as the 30th overall pick, as the last pick in the first round. We head to the second round from Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Our NBA draft coverage continues here on CBS Sports HQ, presented by Jeep.
Ours is a proud bloodline. We hail from the battlefields to the Badlands, from the mountains and the midtowns, from the islands to the highlands, and directly to those who understand that when you get behind the wheel, you're not just driving a Jeep Wrangler, you're joining a family.
It's tough to quit smoking cold turkey. So Chantix can help you quit slow turkey. Along with support, Chantix is proven to help you quit. With Chantix, you can keep smoking at first and ease into quitting. Chantix reduces the urge, so when the day arrives, you'll be more ready to kiss cigarettes goodbye. When you try to quit smoking, with or without Chantix, you may have nicotine withdrawal symptoms. Stop Chantix and get help right away if you have changes in behavior or thinking, aggression, hostility, depressed mood, suicidal thoughts or actions, seizures, new or worse heart or blood vessel problems, sleepwalking, or life-threatening allergic and skin reactions. Decrease alcohol use. Use caution driving or operating machinery. Tell your doctor if you've had mental health problems. The most common side effect is nausea. Quit smoking slow turkey. Talk to your doctor about Chantix.
You may never see a hat trick in person, but you can see your recurring payments with Control Tower. This is winning at banking. This is Wells Fargo.
Back here on CBS Sports HQ, our NBA draft coverage presented by Jeep. What's the future of the Golden State Warriors? 2 injuries decimated Golden State in the NBA Finals. Kevin Durant ruptured his Achilles in Game 5, and Klay Thompson tore his ACL in Game 6. Klay is expected to receive and sign a full max contract offer from the Warriors worth $190 million over 5 years. Durant has a $31.5 million player option for next season. He can choose to opt in, rehab with Golden State, or he could choose to opt out and go elsewhere. Golden State Warriors on draft night with the 28th overall pick selected Jordan Poole out of Michigan. We now welcome in CBS Sports NBA writer Colin Ward-Henninger. Colin, your reaction here to the Warriors' 28th overall pick. Our experts here on the show, one of the worst picks in the draft.
Yeah, that's kind of the consensus. People were kind of wondering why they went for Poole here at 28 when they possibly could have gotten him at 41 in the second round if they really liked him that much. But I guess, you know, what you're really going for here is shooting. Obviously, the Warriors are going to have a lack of perimeter scoring with Durant and Thompson both out for, you know, most of next year, if not all of it. So they found they got a guy that they like, the guy who they think can fill it up from three-point range, and decided to take their shot on him.
So it's a consensus, a big swing and a miss here for the Golden State Warriors, who rarely ever swing and miss. What's the Warriors' offseason strategy here as we head into free agency 10 days away?
Well, obviously, like you said, trying to lock up Klay Thompson, get that max deal. And then, you know, with Durant, there's a lot of different scenarios going around. One that's kind of making the rounds today is signing Durant to a max 5-year deal, letting him rehab all next year. And then if Durant wants to leave, trading him. So that at least gives the Warriors something that they can get for a super duper star instead of watching him leave. So a lot of decisions that the Warriors need to make, but priority number one for next year is getting some guys on the court who can put the ball in the basket, because they're obviously not going to have Durant and Thompson due to their injuries.
Colin, what are the chances that Kevin Durant stays? He opts in and stays with the Warriors for next season and rehabs.
Well, it's a good option for him if you think about it. If he really does want to leave, he knows he's probably not going to play at all next season. So why not take the extra year, take the extra money that the Warriors can provide, and then that allows him to do right by the Warriors. You know, he left OKC and kind of left them in the lurch, and now he's got a chance in Golden State to kind of correct that, at least let them get some assets for him before he takes off and goes to New York or Brooklyn or wherever he decides to go. And if he rehabs for a full year and decides, hey, you know what, I like it here, he can always just stay in Golden State and try to, you know, rekindle that dynasty next season.
Is it pretty much a lock here that Klay Thompson signs a max deal, he stays with Golden State?
Yeah, from everything I'm hearing, I mean, you know, when his father comes out and says Klay Thompson's going to sign a max deal, that's probably a pretty good authority. So unless the Warriors try to get tricky and offer him less than the max, which it doesn't sound like they're going to do, that would be the only way I'd see Thompson going elsewhere. So it looks like he's going to get locked up, and if there's anyone who's going to be a Warrior for life, it looks like it's going to be Klay Thompson.
All right, Draymond Green is still a Warrior. Said after Game 6 of the Finals that the Warriors are not done yet. What are the chances the Warriors make it back to the finals without Kevin Durant, whether he leaves or stays and opts into his deal and rehabs?
That's going to be tough. I mean, I don't know if Draymond was particularly talking about next season exactly, or just the idea that this whole dynasty is finished now. But next season it's going to be tough without Durant and without Thompson for the majority of the season. But who knows what the West is going to look like. The Lakers sound like they're still going to have some moves to make. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard could end up in the Western Conference with the Clippers, so we'll really have a better idea once free agency has started kind of take shape. But, I mean, the Warriors aren't going to be a bad team by any stretch. Any team with Steph Curry and Draymond Green is going to be competitive. They're going to be fighting for those, you know, mid-tier playoff spots most likely. And if Klay Thompson can get healthy, come back around the All-Star break, get into form by the time the playoffs start, you're looking at maybe a 5 or 6 seed that could potentially do some damage in the first round, and nobody's going to want to play that team.
12-1 odds for the Golden State Warriors to get back to the NBA Finals. We'll see if that happens next season. A lot of Western Conference teams are going to have something to say about that, including LeBron James and the LA Lakers. Colin Ward-Henninger here on CBS Sports HQ. Colin, thank you. All right, we welcome back in here our studio Gary Parrish, Matt Norlander, and as we head into the second round here, the Brooklyn Nets go with Nicholas Claxton out of Georgia. Your thoughts there, first pick of the second round?
Not surprising. Spoke with Tom Crean, his college coach at Georgia last season. The expectation among Nicholas Claxton's camp was that they would go into the top 30 of the first round, but gets a nice landing spot with Brooklyn. He's got a lot of potential, 7 feet, needs a little more strength in the core, a little more strength in the base, But this is, without a doubt, this is a long-term project kind of pick. They don't expect Claxton to be an impact player alongside of Jared Allen next season, maybe not even the season after that. But in year 3, year 4, you hope you make that jump. Very much a player you are drafting on potential. Made humongous strides from year 1 to year 2 at UGA. I think it's a good pick by Brooklyn.
Avery, let me bring you in here because Nick Claxton is an SEC guy. You saw this guy a lot coaching at Alabama.
Yeah, this kid is skilled. He's long. He's a lefty. The second half of the SEC season, he really started to make his mark. And I think because of that momentum and the way he finished the season, that's why he decided to not only to enter the draft, but stay in the draft. This kid kind of has like a Kevin Garnett body when Kevin Garnett first entered the NBA, but Kevin Garnett got stronger, and he was always a fierce competitor. This kid motor has been a little bit inconsistent, but give him time. I think this is a long-term play. This is not a play for next year. This is a play for years 3 and beyond.
Reed, Nick Claxton to the Brooklyn Nets here. What do you think?
Yeah, certainly needs development, but what he showed under Tom Crean is that he takes coaching really well, and he just massively improved his game. He's a hell of a shot blocker, one of the better shot blockers in this entire draft. Yeah, he needs to add muscle, but I think the Nets are betting on the future here.
Latest move here, Indiana has traded the 32nd overall pick to Miami for 3 second-round picks. So we get into the minutia here of the second round. Things are changing, and a lot of teams are making deals. What do you want to see out of teams here in the second round? I mean, they're at this point going for value because there's not a ton of really, really good talent still left on the board, or am I wrong?
There's talent there, but honestly, in the second round of any NBA draft, this one included, if you find somebody who even sticks with your roster 3 years from now, it's a massive success. So you see some of the best prospects available still. Bol sitting there being, I think, the biggest story in the draft that's remaining. The fact that this is a young man who was a projected lottery pick coming out of high school and is now available in the second round and sitting there inside Barclays Center probably wondering what went wrong. And what's wild is there are some real questions about Bol as a player, but his biggest issue probably is the way the game has changed.
Right. That's my next question. This is a product of how the big man is almost obsolete.
It happened to Jalil Okafor. Right as Jalil Okafor entered the NBA. I've said many times, if Jalil Okafor were playing 25 years ago, he might be an NBA All-Star.
Yeah.
Now he's just lucky if the Pelicans pick up his extension. And Bol has become the latest, I don't want to say victim, but the latest example of the center position has been devalued. And if you are long, that's great if you're Kevin Durant. But if you cannot guard in space on the defensive end of the court, you're going to get attacked until you're unplayable, and people don't want to spend first-round picks on that.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting second round here because there is still talent out there. We will look up, I promise, we'll look up 5 years from now. There's going to be 1, 2, 3 guys that come out of the second round. They're going to be reliable starters, if not better. One name that wasn't on the board here, I think that we were asked about this on CBS Sports HQ on Wednesday. To me, a guy who's going to be a surefire second rounder that I think has a really, really good shot of popping and winding up as a top 15 player in this draft is Naz Reid out of LSU. I mean, he is big, long, can shoot, is strong, needs to sculpt his body a little bit more, maybe improve the work ethic just a little bit, but a highly rated prospect coming out of high school there. I'm super intrigued. To me, that's one of the biggest questions among guys we have not yet talked about on the show. Where does Naz Reid land? And if he lands in the right kind of spot, Hakeem and GP, I think he could be set up for success. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he wound up having, he's not the same kind of player, but similar impact to, say, a Malcolm Brogdon, who was a second-round pick, wound up having a fairly immediate impact with his franchise. I could see Naz Reid having a similar one.
Does Bruno Fernando fall into that same conversation with Bol being a big guy?
Well, I think Bruno is probably better suited for the modern NBA right now because he just moves a little better. If you see Bol on the offensive end of the court, standing out at the perimeter, knocking down jumpers, you are wowed by that. But he moves awkwardly. Yeah. He has a very high center of gravity. You look at Kristaps Porzingis, who is roughly the same height, but they don't look the same. They don't move the same way. And Bol is paying a big price for that tonight.
All right, let's go to break at this point right now as we head into the second round. Gary Parrish, Matt Northern, Hakeem Dermish here with you on CBS Sports HQ. Our NBA draft coverage continues, presented by Jeep.
To Morant, he stuffs it! Another open look three and hit that one. Morant behind the back. Backdoor goes to Morant for the tomahawk dunk. Oh my goodness.
Ours is a proud bloodline. We hail from the battlefields to the Badlands, from the mountains and the midtowns, from the islands to the highlands, and directly to those who understand that when you get behind the wheel, you're not just driving a Jeep Wrangler, you're joining a family.
It's tough to quit smoking cold turkey. So Chantix can help you quit slow turkey. Along with support, Chantix is proven to help you quit. With Chantix, you can keep smoking at first and ease into quitting. Chantix reduces the urge, so when the day arrives, you'll be more ready to kiss cigarettes goodbye. When you try to quit smoking, with or without Chantix, you may have nicotine withdrawal symptoms. Stop Chantix and get help right away if you have changes in behavior or thinking, aggression, hostility, depressed mood, suicidal thoughts or actions, seizures, new or worse heart or blood vessel problems, sleepwalking, or life-threatening allergic and skin reactions. Decrease alcohol use. Use caution driving or operating machinery. Tell your doctor if you've had mental health problems. The most common side effect is nausea. Quit smoking slow turkey. Talk to your doctor about Chantix.
Today's video is sponsored by Home Chef. I'm so excited. I don't know if you guys can tell. They send you a recipe binder. I'm gonna have the prosciutto sage linguine. Home Chef sends you the ingredients instead of the meal. It's called Home Chef because you're gonna prepare food and you're literally gonna feel like you have your own personal chef. I am thoroughly pleased.
Visit homechef.com for $30 off your first order.
Carson, what's up, man? My best advice for you is just enjoy the moment, too. You had a great college career. You did some amazing things.
Pulling up, shooting a long one, and hitting it. It's Carson Edwards.
Your name's up there with Steph Curry.
And a three ball.
Just enjoy it. Go in there, work hard. Don't worry about where you go to in the draft, first round, second round, as long as your names get called. And once you get to that team, just show them what you are. Show them what you're made of.
Drive to the basket and a layup for Carson Edwards.
Show them what you can provide for the team, and have that chip on your shoulder that you belong, and that'll take you a long way.
Carson Edwards, one of the most electrifying players in college basketball. Perhaps you remember him from when he played against Virginia in the Elite Eight overtime game, a thriller, 42 points, 10 three-pointers. He was one of the darlings of the NCAA tournament. And now Carson Edwards is headed to the Boston Celtics with the 33rd overall pick. I loved Carson Edwards at the college level. Am I going to love Carson Edwards in the NBA, Matt?
You'll probably like him. Great pick. I was there front and center for the entire Purdue run of the NCAA tournament in 2019. Saw him in Hartford, then saw him when he went to town in Louisville against Tennessee first, and then Virginia, as you mentioned. Walking flame emoji. I mean, he really had one of the all-time incredible NCAA tournament four-game runs, four-game stretches there. Statistically, that's proven to be true there. Boston gets a scorer, gets a shooter. Now, he is ball dominant. He needs the ball in his hands to do what he does best. Something of a volume player, there's no doubt about it, but if you're Boston in this spot, why not? I think this has some potential. Will you love him? I don't think we're ever going to get to a point where Carson Edwards is dropping more than 20 points a game.
You might never talk about him again.
This might be the first and last time.
Enjoy this. This might be it. I'm joking, of course, but that is the nature of the deal for second-round picks.
Sure.
There's a long list of big-time college basketball players, super successful guys you just don't talk about anymore because they disappear. College basketball stars disappear quickly once they leave college, and I'm not wishing it on him.
Right.
But could he be one? Sure, he could be.
Avery, is Carson Edwards, is he forgettable? Is he a guy you're going to go, oh, Carson Edwards, he had a great run in college, but not so much in the NBA?
No, I think he'll be a nice role player in the NBA. Similar to Rozier, I think they're preparing, for potentially Kyrie Irving leaving in free agency. He's not going to replace Kyrie Irving. But again, when you're a general manager, and I've been in the foxhole with a lot of those guys, you have to prepare for the best and the worst. In the best case scenario, maybe he's your third string point guard. Best case scenario, maybe he's your third string point guard. But if not, maybe he's your backup. And he gives you some depth. He's an experienced guy. He loves the big stage. But he likes to pound the basketball. And I know, Boston likes to move and cut with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Those guys are not just pick and roll players. So it's just going to be a matter of fit, chemistry, with a guy like Carson Edwards that loves to score the basketball. And then what is he going to do defensively against a lot of the elite point guards, especially not just in the Eastern Conference, but in the NBA?
Well, let's take a look at the last 5 picks here of the NBA draft as we dive into the second round. Kevin Porter Jr. was the last pick of the first round, headed to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Of course, the Milwaukee Bucks logo is there, but he's going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Nicholas Claxton, the first pick in the second round, headed to the Nets. KZ Okpala, a kid out of Stanford, headed to the Miami Heat, not the Phoenix Suns. Carson Edwards, as we just talked about, going to Boston. And Bruno Fernando, the latest, is in fact headed to the Philadelphia 76ers as of right now. We're just talking about Bruno Fernando out of Maryland, 6'10", 237. Good pick at this point in the draft. GP, we talked about how he can move in space.
Bruno Fernando is a great pick at this point in the draft. Again, right now you're just throwing darts and you're hoping to hit on one, but man, a lot of the physical tools are there. He started to show in his sophomore year an ability to step away from the basket and make a shot, and the NBA body's been there since the day he stepped on campus and has only gotten better. I like him a lot. I don't know what he'll be in the NBA. It's very difficult for second-round picks to make it. But, yeah, if I'm picking early in the second round and he's still sitting there, I got no issue taking him.
Avery, you think Bruno makes it in the NBA as a second-round pick?
Yeah, I love this pick. I went down to Florida twice to recruit Bruno, and obviously he didn't decide to sign with Alabama. He went to Maryland. But this kid, I've watched him work out, watched him play a lot on the AAU circuit. A little bit of a poor man's Clint Capella, the starting center for the Houston Rockets. Great energy, loves to play the game. This is a guy that's going to change the game when he checks in. He's whatever the type of energy with your starting center, he's going to raise that level of energy. He's going to play above the rim. He loves to pick and roll, but he's also a great slip guy. That's a lot what the NBA centers are doing now. They're not just setting a pick and roll and standing there for 2 or 3 seconds, but they're slipping out of it, trying to get 2 on the ball with the ball handler so that can free the centers up rolling towards the basket. Pretty good finisher around the basket, but a physical specimen. So I really like this pick. He's probably not going to be an all-star, but he'll be a complimentary piece on an NBA team.
Reed, give us your breakdown on Bruno Fernando, talented kid out of Maryland.
It wasn't more than just a few months ago that people were debating which was the better big man out of this draft, Jackson Hayes or Bruno Fernando. Now, Jackson Hayes going in the mid-lottery, Bruno Fernando going all the way down into the second round. But the talent is there. The physical profile is there. There's the possibility that, as Avery said, he could become a Capella light, but there's something about him, and I think it has to do with focus and just also with the potential. How high is the real potential for this young man? And clearly what NBA people think, Jackson Hayes' potential is much, much higher than Bruno Fernando's.
All right, so Bruno Fernando headed to the Philadelphia 76ers. Our draft coverage continues here on CBS Sports HQ, presented by Jeep. Stay with us as we continue to work our way through the second round of the 2019 NBA Draft.
Ours is a proud bloodline. We hail from the battlefields to the Badlands, from the mountains and the midtowns, from the islands to the highlands, and directly to those who understand that when you get behind the wheel, you're not just driving a Jeep Wrangler, you're joining a family.
It's tough to quit smoking cold turkey. So Chantix can help you quit slow turkey. Along with support, Chantix is proven to help you quit. With Chantix, you can keep smoking at first and ease into quitting. Chantix reduces the urge, so when the day arrives, you'll be more ready to kiss cigarettes goodbye. When you try to quit smoking, with or without Chantix, you may have nicotine withdrawal symptoms. Stop Chantix and get help right away if you have changes in behavior or thinking, aggression, hostility, depressed mood, suicidal thoughts or actions, seizures, new or worse heart or blood vessel problems, sleepwalking, or life-threatening allergic and skin reactions. Decrease alcohol use. Use caution driving or operating machinery. Tell your doctor if you've had mental health problems. The most common side effect is nausea. Quit smoking slow turkey. Talk to your doctor about Chantix.
What's easier than scoring on an open goal? Mobile deposit from Wells Fargo. This is winning at banking. This is Wells Fargo.
Welcome to CBS Sports HQ, your home for streaming sports. This is Riders Block, now live from Los Angeles with the biggest names in sports every single day.
Welcome to CBS Sports HQ, a sports news network.
Breaking news, fantasy advice, picks, and of course, all your highlights. Pre-game, post-game, streaming live 24/7, 365. Always on, always free, on any device.
Delivering the edge to make fans smarter.
Welcome to CBS Sports HQ, your home for streaming sports. This is Riders Block, now live from Los Angeles with the biggest names in sports every single day.
Welcome to CBS Sports HQ, a sports news network.
Breaking news, fantasy advice, picks, and of course, all your highlights. Pre-game, post-game, streaming live 24/7, 365. Always on, always free, on any device.
Delivering the edge to make fans smarter.
Welcome to CBS Sports HQ, your home for streaming sports. This is Riders Block, now live from Los Angeles with the biggest names in sports every single day.
Welcome to CBS Sports HQ, a sports news network.
Breaking news, fantasy advice, picks, and of course, all your highlights. Pre-game, post-game, streaming live 24/7, 365. Always on, always free, on any device.
Delivering the edge to make fans smarter.
All right, back here on CBS Sports HQ, Hakeem Dermish here with you, Matt Norlander and Gary Parrish, and it's an underdog story we can all appreciate. From an unranked player in high school to the #2 pick in the NBA draft, Ja Morant has one of the best stories in NBA draft history. Wasn't heavily recruited in high school. In fact, he got discovered when a Murray State coach was in town to watch another player and then found Morant while searching for a snack. Turns out Morant delivered a whole lot of crunch, developing into one of the best players in the country. Here's a look at Ja's path to the draft, presented by JBL.
People say my life is going to change, and they're right. It will. Good luck. So it's important for you to understand how it all started. Right here in South Carolina, in my backyard. It's a place where we kept the dream of basketball alive for the community. Use the screen, bro. We don't have a lot of access to gyms here, and growing up, my parents always found a way to get us whatever we wanted or whatever we needed. Just trying to find a way to just help not only me, but other kids out.
Check it out. We're going to 7, right? Going to 7.
They decided to save up and put money towards a full court in the backyard. Before, we was just playing on dirt. They extended the court, got 2 basketball goals, and that's when I started working out, and my dad started working out other kids here. Court really is what made me, honestly. It's a big part of my life. On Sundays, we have like a big hoop session / cookout, and that's when everybody just comes. It's just something my parents love to do. They love kids and anything to help anybody out. Normally, me and my sister are in charge of the music, so my job is just to have music going while my mom do the inside cooking and my dad probably cooking on the grill.
Well, I like being in the sun instead of up under here.
That's just how we start the day. So we play, and afterwards we all eat. Just having that court, and you can just share it to the community. Having people come and work out or play, pick up on the court is very special to me, honestly.
Thank you for blessing us. And we pray that you continue to bless Ja in his endeavors. Amen.
Amen. A lot of people really don't make it out from here. I guess it's hard because we don't receive that much attention. We obviously got the nickname Merc City. Kids who come here, me and my parents really don't know if they have the right guidance. We just try to help them in any way we can. Growing up, it was kids who look up to me, and it's just one thing I love to do is try to help them out and be a great role model. Just to have them out here, to see my face or hear my voice, to coach them up or tell them things that they might need to hear in certain situations, just made me happy. I have the opportunity to put the city, state on the map. It's been something I've worked for all my life. I want to be remembered as a great player from South Carolina, but the #1 thing is a great, loving, all-around person who cares for a lot of people. When I watch these kids play and I look into their eyes, I see parts of myself. I see big dreamers and a love for the game. I don't know exactly what the future has in store for them, but what I do know is wherever I go, I will take them with me. My life may be changing, but this place, these people, are forever part of who I am, and that will never change.
Ja Morant, #2 overall. Here's a look at the last 5 picks here in the NBA draft. Daniel Gafford by the Chicago Bulls. Gary, you like this pick?
I like it in terms of a value pick late in the 30s, but in the attempt to make a larger point, we talked earlier about P.J. Washington, a guy who was probably a borderline first-round pick after 1 year of college, decided to come back to school and improve his draft stock, and he did. he got drafted in the lottery. Daniel Gafford probably goes higher in last year's draft than he went in this year's draft. Probably a first-round pick, basically guaranteed in the 2018 NBA draft. Decided to come back to school and didn't ruin his career. He could still go play and earn it. But did he cost himself money? It appears with his second year of college, he cost himself real money.
We're getting some surprises here. One, if you saw that screen indicating the trades, we are tracking toward more than half the draft being swap trade picks. I think this is going to set a record. I don't know if we've ever had a draft where there's been 35 trades, but we might actually reach that. Cody Martin getting selected. Yeah. Did not see his name out there heading into tonight. Caleb Martin was the more celebrated of the twins out of Nevada there, was considered the better college player. But if you look at what Cody Martin did, more efficient, played about the same amount of minutes, but was clearly NBA evaluators think that he is worth a look there. I'm actually a little surprised by that. I did not think either Martin twin would get drafted tonight.
Bol still on the board. Bol, the son of the late Manute Bol, still waiting to hear his name called. Perhaps we'll hear it later on as the night goes on in the second round. Our NBA draft coverage continues here on CBS Sports HQ, presented by Jeep. Stay with us.
Ours is a proud bloodline. We hail from the battlefields to the Badlands, from the mountains and the midtowns, from the islands to the highlands, and directly to those who understand that when you get behind the wheel, you're not just driving a Jeep Wrangler, you're joining a family.
It's tough to quit smoking cold turkey. So Chantix can help you quit slow turkey. Along with support, Chantix is proven to help you quit. With Chantix, you can keep smoking at first and ease into quitting. Chantix reduces the urge, so when the day arrives, you'll be more ready to kiss cigarettes goodbye. When you try to quit smoking, with or without Chantix, you may have nicotine withdrawal symptoms. Stop Chantix and get help right away if you have changes in behavior or thinking, aggression, hostility, depressed mood, suicidal thoughts or actions, seizures, new or worse heart or blood vessel problems, sleepwalking, or life-threatening allergic and skin reactions. Decrease alcohol use. Use caution driving or operating machinery. Tell your doctor if you've had mental health problems. The most common side effect is nausea. Quit smoking slow turkey. Talk to your doctor about Chantix.
Everybody loves the surprise of a last-second equalizer. But nobody likes a surprise with their account balance. What? Stay up to date with account alerts. This is winning at banking. This is Wells Fargo.
Welcome to CBS Sports HQ, a sports news network.
Breaking news, fantasy advice, picks, and of course, all your highlights. Pre-game, post-game, streaming live 24/7, 365. Always on, always free, on any device.
Delivering the edge to make fans smarter.
Welcome to CBS Sports HQ, your home for streaming sports. This is Ryder's Block, now live from Los Angeles with the biggest names in sports every single day.
Welcome to CBS Sports HQ, a sports news network.
Breaking news, fantasy advice, picks, and of course, all your highlights. Pre-game, post-game, streaming live 24/7, 365. Always on, always free, on any device.
delivering the edge to make fans smarter.
What a night it was in the NBA draft. CBS Sports HQ. I'm Hakeem Dermish, Matt Norlander, Gary Parrish, Bill Ryder here, the host of Writer's Block. Avery Johnson here as well, former NBA champion with the San Antonio Spurs, former NBA Coach of the Year with the Dallas Mavericks, head coach at Alabama formerly. Let's start here with the Pelicans. They land Zion Williamson with the #1 overall pick, and what a haul that the Pelicans got here. Jackson Hayes later on in with the 8th pick, Nickeil Alexander-Walker also in the first round. Avery, I'll come to you being a New Orleans guy here. What do you make of the haul by the New Orleans Pelicans, starting with Zion Williamson?
Well, I love it. It's a no-brainer. This kid really elevates the play of all of the players around him, and even guys that are veterans and guys like Lonzo Ball that he's going to be teammates with, and Ingram, who's coming over from the Los Angeles Lakers. I really like this pick. They're going to have shot blocking at the center spot, but Zion Williamson is going to take the New Orleans Pelicans franchise somewhere where it just hadn't been in a long time. They just having a superstar player in Anthony Davis who wanted out of town. This kid wants to be in New Orleans. The fans are going to be crazy about this kid. He's going to have a strong presence in the community. He comes from a strong disciplinarian stepfather who he gives a lot of credit to. Obviously, he played at Duke under Coach K. I'm just really excited about the huge upside and what this is not only going to mean for the New Orleans Pelicans, but for the whole city of New Orleans and the entire state of Louisiana, who really can use some good news.
Matt, this is the culmination for Zion Williamson. A year ago, as Gary Parrish noted earlier on in our coverage, wasn't expected to be the #1 pick. It was R.J. Barrett. It's Zion Williamson, and throughout the entire season, it was kind of affirmed that it was going to be Zion Williamson, considering what he did at Duke. He had a phenomenal year, and now he's ready to make a major impact in the NBA.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens with Zion as the machine takes over. I mean, he was the biggest story in basketball throughout the regular season, both college and the NBA. How often have we ever said that of a college player? But that was absolutely the case with Zion Williamson. He became the thing in the sport. And now with the New Orleans Pelicans, the haul that they put around him is really interesting. They got all those trades. This is going to be a defining story of the 2019 sports calendar going forward. This is now being viewed as the Herschel Walker of the NBA in terms of how much the Lakers gave up in order to get Anthony Davis, what the Pelicans get back in return. There's so many picks coming years down the road. The Zion Williamson story is a big one here on draft night as we turn forward to the weekend and the months ahead. But it's what they will get in years down the road, who they get via trade, how they build around him, that I think actually ultimately defines it more than him getting selected first.
Yeah, we've spent so much time in this draft talking about guys who were one-and-done players who, by all accounts, cost themselves with the 1 year in college. Nasir Little, Bol Bol. The guy who helped himself more than anybody else is Zion Williamson, because like you point out, he was not supposed to ever be the #1 pick of the draft until he got to Duke and showed himself as the best prospect and player in college basketball. The contract he'll sign will be a reflection of that. The shoe endorsement deal he'll sign will be a reflection of that. And then we get to see if he can meet expectations, which is going to be very difficult given that he enters the NBA as the most hyped player since LeBron James. But I will tell you, already he enters the NBA as one of the most famous, not best, but most famous basketball players in this world. He changes that New Orleans franchise. He changes their season ticket sales. He changes their national television presence, their social media presence. He's a no-brainer pick at #1, and New Orleans is very fortunate to have him.
Bill Ryder also here with us. Bill, I know you love this haul by the New Orleans Pelicans. Zion starting at the #1 pick, followed by Jackson Hayes and then Nickeil Alexander-Walker in the first round.
What David Griffin doing, and I know the focus, as the guys just walked us through, is going to be on Zion for all the reasons on and off the court. But I think one of the big storylines of the draft isn't just that Zion's great for the Pelicans, the Pelicans are great for Zion Williamson. Talking to NBA sources earlier today, there's a growing consensus out there, and this happens after guys are in the news, that Brandon Ingram, if he's healthy, is going to make a really big jump. And really, we've seen him make some jumps year one to year two. I mean, the guy's a really special player. And that he can take a lot of the burden off of Zion Williamson. That Lonzo Ball's going to take a lot of the attention, unfortunately for Lonzo, because of his dad. Jackson Hayes is going to be a guy that's a project long term. But I think it speaks, as one GM pointed out to me a few hours ago, that David Griffin, new in that job with the championship in Cleveland, gets to have the benefit of some patience. They don't have to rush this guy. They don't have to rush the process down there. Nobody has to make the playoffs in year one, and that gives Zion a really rare opportunity to be the face of a franchise. As Gary said, be one of the most famous guys in the NBA. But I don't think the pressure is going to be on. Not like it is for some other number one overall picks who have never lost before. Not really. And go into places like Phoenix in the past or Cleveland in the past or Minneapolis, and it's a struggle and it's not fun. There's not a light at the end of the tunnel. This is a great situation, not just for the Pelicans, but for Zion Williamson too.
Zion Williamson played alongside Ja Morant as a youth in South Carolina. Ja Morant follows Zion Williamson in the draft, number 2 overall. And then Memphis gets Brandon Clark later on in the first round. GP, I'll come to you here first. You're a Memphis guy. This is fantastic for Memphis, getting Ja Morant and then Brandon Clark.
You know, that Grizzlies franchise went to the Western Conference playoffs 7 consecutive years, and the fans there got used to having good, quality, important basketball played inside FedEx Forum night after night after night. Past 2 years have been tough. The core 4 of Mike Conley and Marc Gasol, Zach Randolph, Tony Allen has been broken off. The last piece Mike Conley dealt earlier in this week. But for the first time in at least a few years, there's real hope around that Grizzlies franchise because Jaren Jackson Jr., picked 4th in last year's draft, had a phenomenal rookie season and showed everything you want him to show to suggest that he could be a star down the road. You add Ja Morant and Brandon Clark to that, suddenly you've got maybe the most athletic, young starting lineup in the NBA. They're not ready to win yet, but man, you've got something to believe in. And in sports, if you don't have a great on-the-court product, you need hope, something to believe in. The Grizzlies have something to believe in.
Yeah, Phoenix and Sacramento have been sort of the young teams as of late. Now, to me, it's Memphis easily. So much athleticism, a lot of fun. We'll see what they can do, if they can build towards something to get back, as GP just mentioned, that streak consecutively making the postseason. I'm a believer in what Ja Morant can do. I think he'll wind up being just shy of what Mike Conley was for that franchise, which is still, by the way, plenty fine. If the Grizzlies would take that right now. If you told them Ja Morant's going to be just the narrowest of notches below what Mike Conley was for your franchise for a decade, the Grizzlies would absolutely take it. Love the haul. Brandon Clark, to me, one of these steals of the first round. I thought he should have gone 5 or 6 picks sooner.
Avery, your Alabama team played against Ja Morant earlier in the season. When you watch Ja Morant, this guy gave you fits. I know he gave you sleepless nights. What's his potential in the NBA?
He's got great potential. I think here's a guy that can be a perennial all-star, first-team All-NBA type of a player. And guys want to play with him. He makes coming to a team and being an assist guy fun again. It's not just about scoring or his highlight dunks, which he had a pretty strong highlight dunk against us this year, which was his coming out party. I think they had about 45 scouts at the game. But I just think this kid really sees the floor, and he's got tremendous feel. He plays above his age. His maturity level is extremely high. He can throw guys open, sort of like NFL quarterbacks do with their wide receivers. He's a pinpoint passer. But this kid has exceptional feel for the game, and I'm really excited for the Memphis Grizzlies. This is a kid that I would pay to go watch play basketball.
And if you listen to Matt Norlander, you should be really excited about the New York Knicks in the guy they got in R.J. Barrett, 3rd overall. Matt says Rookie of the Year for R.J. Barrett, not Zion Williamson. Explain yourself.
Well, I think Zion Williamson was the rightful number 1 pick, and sure, Morant the rightful number 2 pick. But with what will be asked of R.J. Barrett, the situation that he is going into, do not forget he scored more points in an ACC season as a freshman than any player in the history of that conference. Think about the ACC, how old it is, the prestigious players that have come through there. I think R.J. Barrett is set up to score at a high level, 17, 18 points a game next season as a rookie. And remember, not just that he was projected as the #1 pick a year ago, forget that. Remember how important he was to keeping Duke steady when Cam Reddish was unreliable, Trey Jones was injured, couldn't shoot, Zion Williamson was out. I think he's got a killer aggressiveness about him. And yes, I do think that a year from now, on draft night of 2020, we'll be looking back and we'll see R.J. Barrett, Rookie of the Year.
I think Zion Williamson will be the Rookie of the Year, but there's nothing silly about what Matt said. R.J. Barrett, if nothing else, is going to be able to score from day one. If you can score from day one, you'll be in the Rookie of the Year conversation.
Avery, R.J. Barrett, potential Rookie of the Year here?
I think he's a potential Rookie of the Year, but when you think about Rookie of the Year, it's not just the guy's individual talent and his ability or potential to put up big numbers. It's how is he going to accumulate all of those numbers. I think RJ is going to have a little bit of a tougher time because he just doesn't have the supporting cast around him. Now, we have to see what's going to happen in free agency, but I think a guy like Ja Morant with Jaren Jackson Jr., guy like Zion Williamson with the supporting cast that he's going to have around him in New Orleans, I give them a little bit of a leg up in terms of being potential Rookies of the Year. But what a great pick for the Knicks. The Knicks needed some good news, especially what happened to Kevin Durant, who obviously was going to give the Knicks and may very well still may give them a long look in free agency. But even if he's chooses the Knicks in free agency, he's not going to be able to play next year with Barrett. But I give a guy like Zion Williamson and Ja Morant a little bit of an advantage in terms of the Rookie of the Year race. But Barrett would be third.
The Atlanta Hawks traded up to take DeAndre Hunter with the 4th overall pick. Bill, what did you think about the Hawks move to go and get Hunter?
Yeah, I love the DeAndre Hunter pick, and I'm going to go with Cam Reddish, too. I know some disagreement earlier on the show about where Reddish is going to be as a professional player, but around the NBA, there are GMs that people respect and fear when they get those jobs, and there are GMs they don't. I mean, the Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka jokes were running pretty free even before it became a public farce here in Los Angeles. Travis Schlenk, the GM in Atlanta, is on the other end of that equation. This guy is so widely respected, helped build the Warriors into what they are, was the deputy there to Bob Myers. And so when Travis Schlenk puts his seal of approval on these kinds of moves, when he makes these kind of moves, he usually gets the benefit of the doubt. Now, DeAndre Hunter is a great pick. I love what he's about. We know what he can do. He is going to be the best version of what they need him to be in Atlanta. He's a team guy. He's a great perimeter defender. I love this move. And I had an NBA source send me a text when the Cam Reddish move happened that basically said this Atlanta team now has their star of the future in Trae Young. They've got a young core, some nice draft picks last year, and they got really big and really long and really athletic on the perimeter with those 2 picks in the top 10. I love what Atlanta did. They've got a plan. They've got a vision. They've got a general manager who knows what he's doing. As it relates to Hunter, he's going to be able to make an impact from day one with this young team. And for Cam Reddish, we know the upside. We know he didn't do what he was supposed to do in college. I get all of that. But he's in a position where he doesn't have to go in and be the #1 guy or the #2 guy. They can be slow with him. And one of the things the Warriors have done well, and people will tell you Travis Schlenk does well now as the GM in Atlanta, is grow talent. Is take guys and make sure that over the long haul, 2-3 years, they become the best version of themselves. That bodes very well for Cam Reddish. I love what Atlanta did. I love DeAndre Hunter. When Travis Schlenk goes up and gets somebody, he usually knows what he's doing. They're building, not next year, but in the next few years, a real winner and a real contender in Atlanta.
Avery, what do you think about what the Hawks did? They get DeAndre Hunter as they trade up and then take Cam Reddish with the 10th pick.
Absolutely love it. You guys should see the goosebumps under my suit. I love this kid. He's got great size. Obviously, I don't want to compare him, 100% to Kawhi Leonard because that might be a little bit of a stretch. But this kid has that type of potential. I just remember when Indiana drafted Leonard and the Spurs traded for him. Great vision. Same thing with this kid. He can play multiple positions. He's a winner. He's a champion. He's playing with a point guard and Trae Young who's going to get him the ball. Trae Young is not the best defender at his position, but now you got a guy that's a great defender behind him to help block shots, defend pick and rolls, and really help Trae Young out on defense. So this is a great pick for the Atlanta Hawks. It shows great planning and strategizing. All of the analytics and measurables match up here with this pick, and that's why they made the move to move up in the draft to take DeAndre Hunter.
Jackson Hayes and Cam Reddish will be the two lottery picks that I think are under the most scrutiny, second guessing. I'm beyond the top three because they're just going to receive so much attention. But for me, I'm just a seller on Cam Reddish because I've been tracking him since he was a prospect, 17 years old. Didn't think that he validated his ranking coming out of high school at Duke. I didn't see much to dissuade me from that. He only shot 39% from two-point range, just 33% from three-point range. Had an offensive rating last year of just 96 per 100 possessions. That's not good at all. Potentially, he's going to be able to be set up and thrive with the talent that's around him. But I don't find him to be an alpha. I don't find him to be a relatively athletic player in getting to the rim. And the shot's got to improve. We might look up and see that Cam Reddish at 23, 24 years old blooms into his own and becomes a really nice player. But for where he was selected, for me personally, I just had him closer to the 15, 16 spot in terms of overall prospects on my big board as to oppose where he landed there. But nonetheless, he lands there, and it will be very intriguing for Atlanta.
Matt and I are on the same page here. I'm not going to speak in absolutes about a teenager, particularly a teenager that is obviously and undeniably naturally gifted. But he has not been
needs the ball in his hand, and he is a ferocious competitor. It'll be an interesting challenge for him in his maturation as a player there. Real quick on the other picks here. They take a chance with Garland because he's unknown. They get Kevin Porter Jr. at 30. That could wind up being a huge bargain. And then Windler, I think, is fairly steady. Happened to speak with Windler's college coach, Rick Byrd, earlier in the week, and he did pass along that John Beilein was smitten with Windler. So that pick isn't so much of a shock there. Collectively, I like the talent Cleveland has there. Still young, though. We'll see who finds their roles. Very interesting haul.
What a night it was in Brooklyn, the 2019 NBA draft. In the books in the first round, and what it was, Zion Williamson going #1 overall. Gary Parrish, Matt Norlander, Avery Johnson, Bill Ryder here on CBS Sports HQ breaking it down. Our draft coverage continues here on CBS Sports HQ.
It's tough to quit smoking cold turkey. So Chantix can help you quit slow turkey. Along with support, Chantix is proven to help you quit. With Chantix, you can keep smoking at first and ease into quitting. Chantix reduces the urge, so when the day arrives, you'll be more ready to kiss cigarettes goodbye. When you try to quit smoking, with or without Chantix, you may have nicotine withdrawal symptoms. Stop Chantix and get help right away if you have changes in behavior or thinking, aggression, hostility, depressed mood, suicidal thoughts or actions, seizures, new or worse heart or blood vessel problems, sleepwalking, or life-threatening allergic and skin reactions. Decrease alcohol use. Use caution driving or operating machinery. Tell your doctor if you've had mental health problems. The most common side effect is nausea. Quit smoking slow turkey. Talk to your doctor about Chantix.
What's easier than scoring on an open goal? Mobile deposit from Wells Fargo. This is winning at banking. This is Wells Fargo.
We ask these creatures of comfort what it's like to sleep on a Casper. Some things just don't need words.
Back here on CBS Sports HQ, NBA draft coverage presented by Jeep. Here's a look at the last 5 picks. One of the guys that stands out, well, Bol, because he's going to stand out. The son of the late Manute Bol goes 44th overall to the Miami Heat. He said, quote, "I want to prove everyone wrong."
Yeah, Miami's going to send that pick to Denver. So what we have here is Denver, which, highly seeded in the Western Conference this year. Last season takes a chance after Michael Porter Jr. fell. Now Bol. I believe, gentlemen, this is a record. I don't know if we've ever had a player be invited to the green room that lasted as long into a draft as Bol, who goes to 44. There was not a shortage of people that believe from a raw talent perspective, top 10 player in this field, but there's enough concerns on the defensive end, whether he has the motor, whether he cares enough about basketball. Who knows? To me, if you look at any pick beyond number 10 in this draft, what Bol does or does not become is the number one question mark talking point going forward, because if we look up 3 years from now and he is killing it in the league at his size, has a shot, develops defensively, it'll be an indictment on the entire league essentially. But goes to 44, Miami trades that to Denver, and we'll see what he becomes in the Mile High City.
What a weird night for that young man. I imagine if you're a basketball player and he's been one his whole life, you dream of this. And for your dream to turn into your nightmare on national television while you're sitting there, cameras in your faces, I can't imagine what that's like at any age, but especially his age after just 1 year of college. And so I've got no dog in the hunt, as they say, but yeah, I'll be rooting for Bol to prove people wrong, to prove me wrong. Now, to be clear, I didn't think he needed to go in the 40s. I would have probably taken him in the 20s somewhere, but clearly what you hope is that this young man who has had people question his love for the game, his work ethic, his focus, maybe this is the thing that serves as a wake-up call and shows him, perhaps for the first time in his life, this stuff isn't easy anymore. For the first time in my life, people are doubting me, are skeptical of me. Now it's time to really get going. I don't know that it'll work that way.
Sure.
But that's the way you'd hope it works.
Reed, do you expect him to prove everybody wrong here?
I sure hope so. You just got to feel awful for this guy leaving the green room in tears after waiting for hours and hours and hours for his name to be called. It's brutal to watch. And this is one of the reasons that you can't turn away from a draft. We love the moments of pure joy. Seeing Kobe White and his reaction when his good friend Cam Johnson gets selected at number 11. But this is the flip side of that reality show. Part of, I think, what's missing about this discussion about Ball, look, maybe he doesn't fit in modern-day NBA because he can't guard in space. And maybe there is this work ethic question. Those questions have kind of dogged him for years. But the third, and I think maybe most important thing, are his medicals. There are rumors all around the league. These medicals did not come back well. There are plenty of players who are super talented but have character issues, but have work ethic issues. But the one thing that tends to scare all NBA teams away from a super talented guy like Ball is when you have medical issues.
Just recapping the last few picks here in the NBA draft. Bol 44 to the Denver Nuggets. Isaiah Roby out of the Pistons. Talen Horton-Tucker to the L.A. Lakers. Izzy Brazdeikis to the Kings. And Terrence Mann, the latest, to the L.A. Clippers, the kid out of Florida State. Any of those picks here stand out to you?
I believe Florida State is sending 2 players to the Clippers. Kabengele and now Mann, so teammates in college.
There you go.
Teammates in the pros. You'll notice that's the only trade on this, or the only player on the screen that was not acquired via a trade. Real quick on Talen Horton-Tucker, he is a unique player in this draft because he has a lot of intangibles, great length, really smart player overall. Athleticism isn't there, needs to carve his body a little bit more, but if he sticks in the league for 12, 14 years and just gets by on pure acumen, it wouldn't surprise me at all. That's a good value pick. He was never going to be a threat to go in the first round, guys, but I actually think that's a pretty fantastic pick. I think he is one of the 5 or 6 smartest basketball players in this draft, so that's a nice little pick up there.
Brazdeikis going in the 40s. You know, Michigan lost 3 players, underclassmen, to the NBA draft, which I think at least played some role in John Beilein deciding to jump to the NBA, because if everybody on Michigan's roster would have returned to Michigan, they would have probably, the Wolverines, been the preseason #1 team in the country. Instead, they lose 3 underclassmen, and honestly, a lot of people thought all 3 could go undrafted. Now, at the very least, we know 2 of them go in the top 50, 1 in the first round.
Reed, you look at the last couple guys drafted here. Any guy stand out to you?
Yeah, I mean, the guy that Matt Norlander was just speaking about, Talen Horton-Tucker, is a fascinating prospect. This is a guy who a generation ago would have been referred to as a tweener and might not have found a place in the NBA. And you know what he's called now? He's not put in any one position. He's just kind of called a player. He's an incredibly unique guy. He's short, but he has incredibly long arms and does a lot of things on the basketball court. And like Matt said, his IQ will get him a lot of places.
All right, DeAndre Hunter went 4th overall to the Atlanta Hawks as they traded up. Our Evan Daniels talking with Hunter at the NBA draft there at Barclays Center.
Here with the number 4 pick in the NBA draft, DeAndre Hunter headed to the Atlanta Hawks. You said they're the only team you met with. You must have had a hunch you might be headed that way.
Yeah, when I heard they got up to that 4 pick, I had a pretty good feeling about where I was going to get drafted at.
How exciting was it to walk across the stage and kind of know where you're going to be headed and play in your professional basketball?
It's crazy. This is something I've been dreaming about as a kid. Seeing guys I know go through this process and shaking Adam Silver's hand, it was just an amazing feeling to be up there.
You have a really unique and cool story. You redshirted when you went to college, and you just got better and better and better. What kind of message do you have to other kids coming out of high school that might be in your same position?
Just don't grow weary in the process. Everything's not going to go the way you want. It definitely didn't go the way I wanted. I definitely didn't want to wear a shirt. I even got injured in the tournament, so everything's not going to go your way, but you just have to stay focused, be yourself, and the work always shows in the end.
Assess your development from when you entered college to now where you're headed to play in the NBA. In what ways do you feel like you've really improved the most?
I feel like I improved as an all-around player. My defense definitely got better. My shot got a lot better. Just being in better shape. My body, I was skinny coming into college, but my body got a lot better, and I feel like that made my game get a little better as well. So everything got a tad better.
Obviously, you have a familiarity with the Hawks since you met with them. What do you like about that organization, and how do you see yourself fitting in on the court?
Yeah, they have a great young core. Trey Young, Kevin Huerter, John Collins. They have a great coach as well. So, I mean, with those two things combining, and I'm just trying to bring a winning mentality, a great mindset, and I'm willing to learn, willing to do whatever it takes to be a part of that organization and help them win.
Outside of the mentality and mindset, from a playing standpoint, what will you bring?
Just a versatile player, versatile defender, versatile offensive player, a guy who could do everything on the floor.
It'd be nice to take some passes from Trey Young, right?
Yeah, he's a great passer. I can't wait.
Congratulations, DeAndre.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm about to have my hands full. I got a baby on the way.
How about a hands-free house? One command can lock your doors, adjust the temperature.
Oh, dim the lights?
All with your voice. You can even tell your baby monitor to play a lullaby.
Oh, that sounds complicated.
It's not. Best Buy can tell you what you need and help you put it all together.
Wow, is there anything you don't know?
Try me.
Great, list of baby names. Hamilton, Bartholomew.
I majored in baby names. This is perfect.
It's tough to quit smoking cold turkey. So Chantix can help you quit slow turkey. Along with support, Chantix is proven to help you quit. With Chantix, you can keep smoking at first and ease into quitting. Chantix reduces the urge, so when the day arrives, you'll be more ready to kiss cigarettes goodbye. When you try to quit smoking, with or without Chantix, you may have nicotine withdrawal symptoms. Stop Chantix and get help right away if you have changes in behavior or thinking, aggression, hostility, depressed mood, suicidal thoughts or actions, seizures, new or worse heart or blood vessel problems, sleepwalking, or life-threatening allergic and skin reactions. Decrease alcohol use. Use caution driving or operating machinery. Tell your doctor if you've had mental health problems. The most common side effect is nausea. Quit smoking slow turkey. Talk to your doctor about Chantix.
Ours is a proud bloodline. We hail from the battlefields to the Badlands, from the mountains and the midtowns, from the islands to the highlands, and directly to those who understand that when you get behind the wheel, you're not just driving a Jeep Wrangler, you're joining a family.
CBS Sports HQ, your home for streaming sports. This is Riders Block, now live from Los Angeles with the biggest names in sports every single day.
Welcome to CBS Sports HQ, a sports news network.
Breaking news, fantasy advice, picks, and of course, all your highlights. Pre-game, post-game, streaming live 24/7, 365. Always on, always free, on any device.
Delivering the edge to make fans smarter.
What's the future of the Golden State Warriors? 2 injuries decimated Golden State in the NBA Finals. Kevin Durant ruptured his Achilles in Game 5, and Klay Thompson tore his ACL in Game 6. Klay is expected to receive and sign a full max contract offer from the Warriors worth $190 million over 5 years. Durant has a $31.5 million player option for next season. He can choose to opt in, rehab with Golden State, or he could choose to opt out and go elsewhere. Golden State Warriors on draft night with the 28th overall pick selected Jordan Poole out of Michigan. We now welcome in CBS Sports NBA writer Colin Ward-Henninger. Colin, your reaction here to the Warriors' 28th overall pick. Our experts here on the show, one of the worst picks of the draft.
Yeah, that's kind of the consensus. People were kind of wondering why they went for Poole here at 28 when they possibly could have gotten him at 41 in the second round if they really liked him that much. But I guess, what you're really going for here is shooting. Obviously, the Warriors are going to have a lack of perimeter scoring with Durant and Thompson both out for, most of next year, if not all of it. So they found a guy that they like, the guy who they think can fill it up from three-point range, and decided to take their shot on him.
So it's a consensus, a big swing and a miss here for the Golden State Warriors, who rarely ever swing and miss. What's the Warriors' offseason strategy here as we head into free agency 10 days away?
Well, obviously, like you said, trying to lock up Klay Thompson, get that max deal. And then, with Durant, there's a lot of different scenarios going around. One that's kind of making the rounds today is signing Durant to a max 5-year deal, letting him rehab all next year. And then if Durant wants to leave, trading him. So that at least gives the Warriors something that they can get for a super duper star instead of watching him leave. So a lot of decisions that the Warriors need to make, but priority number one for next year is getting some guys on the court who can put the ball in the basket, because they're obviously not going to have Durant and Thompson due to their injuries.
Colin, what are the chances that Kevin Durant stays? He opts in and stays with the Warriors for next season and rehabs.
Well, it's a good option for him if you think about it. If he really does want to leave, he knows he's probably not going to play at all next season. So why not take the extra year, take the extra money that the Warriors can provide, and then that allows him to do right by the Warriors. He left OKC and kind of left them in the lurch, and now he's got a chance in Golden State to kind of correct that, at least let them get some assets for him before he takes off and goes to New York or Brooklyn or wherever he decides to go. And if he rehabs for a full year and decides, hey, you know what, I like it here, he can always just stay in Golden State and try to, rekindle that dynasty next season.
Is it pretty much a lock here that Klay Thompson signs a max deal, he stays with Golden State?
Yeah, from everything I'm hearing, when his father comes out and says Klay Thompson's going to sign a max deal, that's probably a pretty good authority. So unless the Warriors try to get tricky and offer him less than the max, which it doesn't sound like they're going to do, that would be the only way I'd see Thompson going elsewhere. So it looks like he's going to get locked up, and if there's anyone who's going to be a Warrior for life, it looks like it's going to be Klay Thompson.
All right, Draymond Green is still a Warrior. Said after Game 6 of the Finals that the Warriors are not done yet. What are the chances the Warriors make it back to the finals without Kevin Durant, whether he leaves or stays and opts into his deal and rehabs?
That's going to be tough. I don't know if Draymond was particularly talking about next season exactly, or just the idea that this whole dynasty is finished now. But next season it's going to be tough without Durant and without Thompson for the majority of the season. But who knows what the West is going to look like. The Lakers sound like they're still going to have some moves to make. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard could end up in the Western Conference with the Clippers, so we'll really have a better idea once free agency has started kind of take shape. But, the Warriors aren't going to be a bad team by any stretch. Any team with Steph Curry and Draymond Green is going to be competitive. They're going to be fighting for those, mid-tier playoff spots most likely. And if Klay Thompson can get healthy, come back around the All-Star break, get into form by the time the playoffs start, you're looking at maybe a 5 or 6 seed that could potentially do some damage in the first round, and nobody's going to want to play that team.
12-1 odds for the Golden State Warriors to get back to the NBA Finals. We'll see if that happens next season. A lot of Western Conference teams are going to have something to say about that, including LeBron James and the LA Lakers. Colin Ward-Henninger here on CBS Sports HQ. Colin, thank you. Back here on CBS Sports HQ, NBA draft coverage continues. The top 5 picks in the 2019 NBA draft. If you went back to Gary Parrish's mock draft, well, this is exactly what it looked like. What I'm saying is he had it spot on. Zion, Ja Morant, RJ Barrett, DeAndre Hunter, and DeAndre Hunter's not going to the Lakers. He's going to the Atlanta Hawks. Darius Garland is going to the Cleveland Cavaliers, at least for the time being. So as for Gary Parrish, the aforementioned Gary Parrish, I want to just give you the floor here for a second because you had it right.
Yeah, I could brag, but the truth is,
humble brag.
The truth is, if you do this for a living, you kind of knew what the top 3 were going to be. You were guessing on 4, but Hunter was a reasonable option. And then if you didn't have Garland 4, you were probably going to have Garland 5. So I think the top 7 picks, and Norlander and I talked about this earlier in the night, the top 7 picks were going to go 1 through 7, those names in some order. And then the draft really started to get goofy at pick number 8.
I said all of that because you were the winner on the set here tonight. You were the winner, not the loser.
I didn't feel like it.
You were the winner. That's for sure. So let's talk winners and losers here. Matt, you can go first. Winners, who are your winners on NBA draft night?
We're going to go team and player. For team, it's the Pelicans. It's not just Zion Williamson. If you get Zion Williamson, you're the winner, though. I think that's the winner of all winners, without a doubt. But Jackson Hayes at 8, they made a move to get him. I think that could really pay off. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I really like the haul that surrounds Zion overall. So I put the Pelicans as the winner for the team. As for the player, Cameron Johnson going 11th, getting an opportunity. I didn't think that it was remotely possible he'd be a lottery pick. I don't know if anyone thought that outside of the organization that drafted him, but he's there. And so to me, among all the players for tonight, what they were expecting going in, you saw Kobe White's incredible reaction. Cameron Johnson going to get it done at the next level.
Yeah, Kobe White just said, wow, 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 wow. All right, how about your...
Wow, bro.
Yeah, wow, bro. Let's go, Gary. Who do you have as your winners?
If you don't mind, I'm going to go with my hometown franchise.
Go for it.
Memphis Grizzlies. And any Grizzlies fans out there, and perhaps just people who follow the draft, know that drafts have not been good to the Grizzlies, basically from the time they drafted Mike Conley to the time they drafted Jaren Jackson Jr. last year. But there's a new front office in place now, a new president of basketball operations, a new general manager, and I feel like they knocked this out of the park. At number 2, it's easy. You just take Ja Morant, whatever. But they did a deal earlier in the week to secure the 23rd pick from the Utah Jazz in exchange for Mike Conley, and by most accounts, got a great deal done there. They then used that 23 pick, move up to 21 to select Brandon Clark, and you can get excited pretty easily about a front court someday featuring Jaren Jackson Jr. and Brandon Clark, 2 terrific athletes who I think complement each other perfectly. So that's a first-team CBS Sports All-American and a second-team CBS Sports All-American in this past college basketball season. Ja Morant, who became the first Division I player to average 20 points and 10 assists per game, and Brandon Clark, who had the second highest player efficiency rating in all of college basketball, second only to Zion Williamson. This is a massive night for the Memphis franchise because, once again, they don't have a great team in place. They're very young, still rebuilding, but the fans of that franchise have hope, and hope is worth something. Hope is something that gives an entire city something to look forward to.
Reed, how about you? Who's your winner?
I'm going to take Matt's pick of the Pelicans, but take it one further. It is the city of New Orleans. I mean, remember, just a few months ago, this was a franchise in so much turmoil. Their best player requesting a trade, demanding a trade out of town. Their owner recently had passed away. There's a switch in ownership. Their general manager gets fired. And what has happened since then? Well, they got the one player that everybody in the NBA wanted, a transcendent player in Zion Williamson. But not just that. David Griffin. They get a general manager in David Griffin who was so well respected around the league. It's not just that this suddenly becomes an interesting basketball team, a team that could be a contender in a few years when you factor in all these people, all these players that they caught from the Los Angeles Lakers in that Anthony Davis trade. This is a franchise that I think is now saved. The Pelicans were bottom 5 in the NBA in attendance this past year. And if this team tanked out, and if they became a bottom 5 team in the NBA, we very well could be talking about the Seattle Pelicans in the next few years. That much, I think, is out the window.
All right, we talk winners. We got to talk losers. Matt? Sorry, that was a bad segue. You're not in
I didn't follow what you were doing.
You're not in
I
any
did.
way,
I was there
shape,
with
or
you.
form. You did knock GP earlier in the night.
Woo!
I gave him love.
You did. You did.
Or at least promised it.
Or at least did. You're my guy. Who though was a loser on draft night?
P teams on both ends. Pelicans winner, Pacers loser. They get Goga Bitadze. They've got a cram in the front court. Don't love the fit there. We'll see. You got to figure they're going to ship one of their big men out of there, maybe Miles Turner. And then they pick Jarrell Brantley out of College of Charleston. Maybe 0.002% of the basketball knowing population even knew where Brantley went to college. It's an underwhelming pick. Maybe it turns up well, but he was not even remotely considered to be a viable draft pick by anyone that I spoke with. But hey, Indiana's going to take a chance on him. To me, they're the blah franchise of the night.
I think the loser, from a player perspective, obviously Bol would be one example, but
Sure.
Nasir Little is another one, because if you go back to mock drafts published a year ago in advance of the 2019 NBA draft, basically everybody had R.J. Barrett number 1, and just about everybody had Nasir Little number 2. He was coming off a all-star game performance where he was the MVP of both the McDonald's game and the Jordan Brand Classic. And now he goes 25th in the 2019 NBA draft. And so if you go look at the rookie scale, the amount of money guaranteed to him that is no longer there is significant. The second pick in this draft is guaranteed to sign a 2-year contract worth $13.2 million. If Nasir Little would have been what he was projected to be, that's what he signs. 2 years, $13.2 million. The 25th pick, 2 years, $3.2 million. I don't even have to pull my iPhone calculator out to figure out that's a loss of $10 million over a 10-year period. He might make it up someday, but he lost it in this last year at North Carolina.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. You gave the Golden State Warriors a D for taking Jordan Poole with the 28th overall pick. Reed, you didn't like that pick either. Are the Golden State Warriors your losers, or are you looking elsewhere?
Oh, they are certainly one of the losers. I mean, they simply didn't get any better during this draft, and this is a team that needed to get better. But my biggest loser of the night, I know it's obvious and it's painful to watch, but Bol, seeing what happened to him, having to stare down the cameras for hours and hours and hours, not knowing when his name was going to be called. Remember, this was a guy who was considered a top 5 pick coming into this season. There are obviously concerns around his game, around his love for the game, and just around his fit in the modern day NBA. But like I said earlier, the biggest concern has got to be around those medicals. I really wish that, I really do hope that his story turns out to be an awesome story, and that we all say, I can't believe all of you guys passed on Bol, because it was painful to watch tonight.
Yeah, and he said that he is going to prove everyone wrong. We sure hope that he does. The son of the late, great Manute Bol headed to the Denver Nuggets. Reed Forgrave, Matt Norlander, Gary Parrish here on CBS Sports HQ as our NBA draft coverage continues, presented by Jeep.
It's tough to quit smoking cold turkey. So Chantix can help you quit slow turkey. Along with support, Chantix is proven to help you quit. With Chantix, you can keep smoking at first and ease into quitting. Chantix reduces the urge, so when the day arrives, you'll be more ready to kiss cigarettes goodbye. When you try to quit smoking, with or without Chantix, you may have nicotine withdrawal symptoms. Stop Chantix and get help right away if you have changes in behavior or thinking, aggression, hostility, depressed mood, suicidal thoughts or actions, seizures, new or worse heart or blood vessel problems, sleepwalking, or life-threatening allergic and skin reactions. Decrease alcohol use. Use caution driving or operating machinery. Tell your doctor if you've had mental health problems. The most common side effect is nausea. Quit smoking slow turkey. Talk to your doctor about Chantix.
Ours is a proud bloodline. We hail from the battlefields to the Badlands, from the mountains and the midtowns, from the islands to the highlands, and directly to those who understand that when you get behind the wheel, you're not just driving a Jeep Wrangler, you're joining a family.
Hi, we're Warby Parker, an eyewear company that offers high-quality glasses starting at $95, including prescription lenses. Try 5 pairs for free at warbyparker.com. Oh yeah, about those prescription lenses. Warby Parker glasses come standard with custom-cut polycarbonate lenses that have been treated with scratch-resistant and anti-reflective coatings. Nice. Try 5 pairs for free at warbyparker.com.
NBA draft coverage continues here on CBS Sports HQ, presented by Jeep. Here's a look at the last 5 picks. Any of these guys stand out to you, gentlemen? Kyle Guy not headed to the Knicks, but he has been drafted 55th overall.
Yeah, that's 3 Virginia players selected in this NBA draft, so it doesn't really compare to what the Villanova national championship team did a year prior, but still, all 3 guys selected on draft night that entered the NBA draft from Virginia, the reigning national champs, and I think all 3 guys got a chance to make a team.
Yeah, Kyle Guy was not on many mock drafts. I had him on mine, deserving player. I also want to point out Justin Wright Foreman out of Hofstra. Yeah. Fantastic college player. GP's well aware of what he could do. I love seeing that. A 4-year player, but just a straight baller. To see a guy like that get rewarded on draft night with the 2nd-round pick, clearly there's enough confidence in him that he can be a player that can stick. Hopefully, he's a natural-born scorer, though, so I love seeing Wright Foreman getting selected.
Kyle Guy is a Sacramento King, both literally and figuratively, because he was a king at the NCAA tournament. We watched him, have a heck of a tournament. Hit all those shots. The last second shot, it was incredible what he did. So he's headed to the Sacramento Kings. We wind down here in the NBA draft, and you take a step back. Some of the storylines that stood out to you are what for you, Matt?
Well, beyond the obvious 1, 2, 3 at top of the draft, Garland not going 4 and New Orleans trading out of that spot at 4, and the Hawks getting Hunter, big one. I think the precipitous falls of Nasir Little and Bol are significant stories, maybe even to a certain extent Kevin Porter Jr. But I will also say this, the stories that emanate from draft night are often ones we can't even tell right now. They're the stories of the players that were selected 5, 10, 30 picks. Thankfully not 30 rounds, 30 picks
30
later.
rounds would be rough.
That would be rough, but I'm ready to go another 30 with you guys.
Wow.
But someone that was selected in the late 30s or the 40s or the 50s tonight, that's going to wind up being a really important player, maybe an all-star. Those are the stories we'll know about 2, 4, 6 years from now that we can't identify tonight. And I think those are some of the biggest ones and the most fun ones down the road.
One of the things I think is important to remember is that heading into this draft, and I think for obvious reasons, it was the Zion draft. That's what all the lottery was about. Who's going to get to pick Zion tonight was sort of watching Zion realize this moment. But, once upon a time we had the LeBron draft. And the LeBron draft also gave us Hall of Famers Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony.
Don't forget about Darko Milicic.
Chris Bosh, and that guy. And then after that, we had the Anthony Davis draft. And that draft has also given us multi-year All-Star Bradley Beal, multi-year All-Star Damian Lillard. And in between those drafts, we had the Blake Griffin draft. And that one has given us MVP James Harden, MVP Steph Curry. My point being this. We always talk about these drafts like it's about something that it doesn't end up being about. It's a 1-player draft. It's a 3-player draft. As Matt has pointed out, and I think he's exactly right, and as what I just told you underlines, there are going to be stories all throughout this thing. I can't tell you exactly where they're going to be, but I promise you, this had been called a 3-player draft 3 million times in recent weeks. Mm-hmm. Somebody selected out of that, outside of the top 3 is going to be probably one of the top 3 players from this draft, is going to be a franchise player. Who is it? I don't know, but it'll be somebody, I promise you.
3 Tennessee players drafted on draft night. Grant Williams headed to Boston, Admiral Schofield headed to the Washington Wizards, and the latest Jordan Bone headed to the Atlanta Hawks. How about Tennessee? Rick Barnes. I mean, that was a heck of a team, ranked number 1 for most of the season last year.
And Jordan Bone gets selected because he was a top 5 point guard in college basketball last season. He also tested athletically extremely well at the Combine, as well as just about anyone there. Going to the Hawks is a little fascinating because they've already got themselves a surefire point guard of the future. Trae Young was the 2nd best rookie in the NBA this past season. Jordan Bone steps in as a 2nd or 3rd option there. But, hey, why not? Good on Tennessee. You saw programs. You want another little side storyline for you to nosh on, if you will. Tennessee, Virginia, Gonzaga, Zach Norvell trying to be in the picture here, but 3 programs who normally don't have 2, 3 guys in the mix to get drafted. Those 3, obviously no surprise, are all really good programs this past season.
And at Tennessee, if you're Rick Barnes, this has to become a recruiting tool for you. Here's why. John Calipari puts a bunch of guys in every draft. They were projected that way coming out of high school. That's the only way they get to Kentucky. Admiral Schofield, Grant Williams, Jordan Bone, coming out of high school, None of them were supposed to sniff this night. And yet 3 players selected in the top 60. If you're Rick Barnes, you're on the recruiting trail reminding people, yes, I can recruit Kevin Durant and bounce him into the league, but I can also take 3-star unheralded prospects, work with me, believe in me, let me coach you, and I can get you picked in some draft somewhere.
This is sort of an instant analysis, instant reaction, because you'll have time to look back and really digest and really consume this draft when you look over the names. But when you have looked over the names at this point, you go, all right, this guy went later than he should have, or he went later than maybe we wanted him to go. Who's the guy that you're going to look back in a couple of years and you're like, wow, he went that late, or that was a great value? Who's a guy that you're going to go, wow, he provided pretty good value for his draft slot?
Brandon Clark at Memphis, I think, is going to prove to be a top 10, top 12 player out of this draft. And then there's a guy who has not been picked here. I don't understand why Naz Reid has not been selected. I think that Naz Reid is going to wind up being a 5 to 7 year starting level player in the NBA. Clearly, with either his interviews or his workouts, there was not enough there to convince a team to select him. But I think that Naz Reid has a lot of natural talent. Him and Lou Dort out of Arizona State. Lou Dort, similar to Jordan Bone, tests super well. Not an efficient player, though. I thought he was a little bit of a surprise with what hasn't happened there. But I'll tag it with this. Don't forget that these franchises and the players and their agents alike now, if you're not drafted, it's not the end of the world. We talk about Fred VanVleet and all that stuff and his story and how it inspires. But the opportunity for 2-way contracts, to star in Summer League, to maybe make a roster, it's still out there. So if you're an underclassman who did not get drafted here on Thursday night, it's not the end. You are seeing more and more commonly now than you did 10 and certainly 20, 30 years ago. If you're not drafted, it doesn't mean that you made the wrong decision to come out or anything like that. You're still going to have your opportunities. And whereas GP was talking about how it's more likely than not that a player outside the top 3 is one of the 3 best players from this draft, it's more likely than not that we're going to have a cluster of players undrafted who wind up sticking in the league 7, 8, 10 years.
Yeah, there's video from Fred VanVleet's draft night where he did not get drafted, where, he had a little party and he's on a microphone and he said, this is not the end of my story. Fast forward to earlier this month, it quite clearly was, and he was banging home threes in the fourth quarter of a championship clinching win. In terms of other guys tonight that we could look up down the road and go, whoa, I can't believe that franchise got that guy where they got him. Ty Jerome at 24. I do think there's probably 23 players in this draft with a better upside than Ty Jerome. I promise you there will not be 23 better players in this draft than Ty Jerome. I still believe in Nasir Little, at least better than the 25th pick in this 2019 NBA draft. And then Keldon Johnson going 29. I could easily look up in a couple of years, I think, and go, wow, remember when people thought he was a lottery pick and then they were able to get him at 29? Somebody made a mistake. Keldon Johnson's got a chance to outplay that pick, I think, fairly easily. 10
ACC players drafted in the first round of the NBA draft tonight, tied with the ACC in 2017. The top pick there for the ACC was Jason Tatum out of Duke. That's pretty impressive. Most by a single conference in the first round of the common draft area. I mean, that tells you that not only is the ACC the best conference in basketball, and we can sit here and argue about the SEC and the Big Ten, but the ACC delivers players year in and year out. You have Zion here, you have R.J. Barrett, you go to Virginia. I mean, this conference continues to set the bar.
Yeah, I wrote about that 2 years ago at the draft, the fact that the ACC did that, a big-time moment for the conference. I believe 8 of the 10 tonight came from Duke, Virginia, North Carolina. Obviously, that runs parallel to those those three programs. Remember what seed line they landed on in the NCAA tournament. But yeah, the ACC is the best conference in college basketball from a talent and team perspective. The Big 12 has been good, rated, on the Ken Palms and all that stuff, but the ACC is still considered the best league in the sport for this exact reason. You always have 2 to 4 legitimate national championship contenders in a given year, and then you almost always have anywhere between 5 and 10 first-round NBA talents. It's extremely impressive for them, and I don't see this slowing down anytime soon with the coaches they've got.
And keep in mind, it could have been 11 if Trey Jones would have entered the 2019 NBA draft. Instead, he goes back to Duke to make Duke a preseason top 5 team, and then he might be able to bounce into the first round next year.
The last pick in the NBA draft, Vanja Marinkovic. What do we know about this guy? Vanja, 60th pick.
I believe this is up your alley, Hakeem. You were talking about him earlier, right?
I mean, he's incredible.
Why couldn't they have just taken Dedrick Lawson? Would have been so much easier.
Another player that honestly deserved to be drafted today. He could wind up balling in the league. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Wow, what a night it was. We were live from 6 Eastern. It's now Friday morning, right? We're in the 1 o'clock hour here. I mean, this was fun, breaking down all 60 picks. Gary Parrish, Matt Norlander, we had Avery Johnson on the show, Reed Forgrave on the show, Tim Doyle. We had Evan Daniels from Barclays Center. What a night it was here. And thank you to our entire crew behind the scenes who put on an absolute show and put on a clinic, producing, directing, all the likes. Thank you for all their work on this night. NBA draft coverage here on CBS Sports HQ presented by Jeep. Stay with us. We'll continue to wrap up the night as the NBA draft has come to a conclusion.
It's tough to quit smoking cold turkey. So Chantix can help you quit slow turkey. Along with support, Chantix is proven to help you quit. With Chantix, you can keep smoking at first and ease into quitting. Chantix reduces the urge, so when the day arrives, you'll be more ready to kiss cigarettes goodbye. When you try to quit smoking, with or without Chantix, you may have nicotine withdrawal symptoms. Stop Chantix and get help right away if you have changes in behavior or thinking, aggression, hostility, depressed mood, suicidal thoughts or actions, seizures, new or worse heart or blood vessel problems, sleepwalking, or life-threatening allergic and skin reactions. Decrease alcohol use. Use caution driving or operating machinery. Tell your doctor if you've had mental health problems. The most common side effect is nausea. Quit smoking slow turkey. Talk to your doctor about Chantix.
Ours is a proud bloodline. We hail from the battlefields to the Badlands, from the mountains and the midtowns, from the islands to the highlands, and directly to those who understand that when you get behind the wheel, you're not just driving a Jeep Wrangler, you're joining a family.
There's nothing better than a home-cooked meal. The sizzle of meat hitting the pan, the crunch of a fresh veggie, and what's this now? You got it. That's a homemade sauce. A homemade red wine sauce. And fresh herbs? Yum. Wait, is this a restaurant commercial? A successful food vlog? Another cooking competition? No. It's Home Chef, the meal kit that teaches your favorite foods some easy, delicious tricks. Home Chef. Delicious, meat simple. Sign up now for $30 off your first order.
Hi, I'm Renata Bliss, and I'm your freestyle dance teacher.
Country boy, I love you.
Is it real?
That's it, Brian? Give me your fucking money!
I fucking hate you!
Let me hop out the Porsche, I don't wanna hit that.
Shut the up.
I spilled lipstick in your Valentino bag.
Oh, you spilled lipstick in my Valentino white bag!
Ay!
You ready to fucking die? No, yeah, I'm a bad bitch. You can't
Have anybody ever tell you you look like Beyonce?
Nah, they usually tell me I look like Shalissa.
Who the fuck is that?
Me, nigga.
Cam and Colin, run in here and come get y'all juice. Shit.
Screw you, Jake. Whoa. Hurricane Katrina. More like Hurricane Tortilla.
I'm John Cena!
We're breaking
We're
free.
All I fucking wanted was fucking bangs. What the fuck?
Look at all those chickens.
Hey, how much you pay for that taco?
Hey, yo, you know this, boy. He's got his free taco.
Hey, I'm lesbian.
I thought you were American.
Stop throwing stuff.
Hey, Terry, you want some?
This bitch empty.
Chris, is that a weed?
No, this is a crayon.
I'm calling the police.
911, what's your emergency?
How do you know what's good for me? That's my opinion!
He wouldn't even do it.
Sorry, my mom's calling. I gotta go.
Hey, Mom. Say, who want lasagna? Who want lasagna? Look at. It's freaking bats. I love Halloween. Look.
Why do you like Halloween so much?
There's always Halloween in my soul. Guess what I mean? Popcorn!
Nate, how those chicken strips?
Fuck your chicken strips.
Go.
Fuck your chicken strips.
Oh. What are you... Oh, my man. I saw you hanging out with Caitlin yesterday.
Rebecca, it's not what you think.
I won't hesitate, bitch.
A red dress on tonight, dancing in the dark in the pale moon.
What the fuck?
So I am confusion. Why is this one Kansas, but this one is not Arkansas? America, explain! Explain! What do you mean in Arkansas? What?
When there's too much drama at school, all you gotta do is walk away. We're sliding, Chloe. Chloe, it's not my fault. Not my fault. Oh my god. Oh my god. Everybody, free fall on.
Who's that Pokemon? It's Pikachu!
It's Clefairy.
Fuck!
Who's the hottest Uber driver you've ever had?
I never went to Uber driver. I do that.
Can I get a waffle? Can I please get a waffle?
Like an actual
If your name is Junior and you're really handsome, come on, raise your hand.
Hi, welcome to Chili's.
From the Manatee County Fair, Linda Carson, ABC7, would you not eat my pants? Ah!
Dad, look, it's the Good Kush.
This is the dollar store. How good can it be?
Where's the lizard?
What do you think of that? Sounds like something she'd say.
All you ladies pop your pussy like this.
Shake your body, don't stop, don't miss. All you ladies pop your pussy like this. Shake your body, don't stop, don't miss. Just do it, do it, do it, do it, do it now. Lick it good, suck this pussy just like you should. Right now, lick it good, suck this pussy just like you should. My neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack. My neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack. My neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack. My neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack. My neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack. First you gotta put your neck into it. Don't stop, just do it, do it. Then you roll your tongue from the crack back to the front. Then you suck it all till I shake and come, nigga. Make sure I keep bustin' nuts, nigga, all over your face and stuff. Slow head, show me so much love. The best head comes from a thug. The dick good, thick, big and long. Slow fuckin' to the crack of dawn. On the edge, making faces and stuff. Through the night, making so much love. Dead sweet when the sun comes up. So lick it now, lick it good. Lick this pussy just like you should. Come on, right now, lick it good. Lick this pussy just like you should. My neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack. My neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack. You might roll dubs, you might have G, but fuck that nigga, get on your knees. A bitch like me moans and screams. The missus know what I mean. At the club, fresh so clean. A whole hit of niggas watching me. So high in the line on green. With a unit on my face so mean. I got the pit was nigga I need. To suck and thug nigga satisfy me. You try me, I make you see. Your bitches ain't got shit on me. So lick it now, lick it good. Lick this pussy just like you should. Come on, right now, lick it good. Lick this pussy just like you should. My neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack. My neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack. Do it now, lick it good. Lick this pussy just like you should. Come on, right now, lick it good. Suck this pussy just like you should. My neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack. My neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack. My neck, my back, roll your tongue from the crack back to the front. My neck, suck it off my back and come, nigga. Make sure I keep bustin' nuts. My neck, my back, roll your tongue from the crack back to the front. My neck, suck it off my back and come, nigga. Make sure I my crack. My neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack. My neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack. My neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack. My neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack.
Yeah, yeah. Real players up in here now. Represent. Y'all talking all that shit about suckers blinking on you. Oh, dang, you back up your crack.
So recently, my son's band was signed by a record label.
Why Blake and Chris chose Verizon.
While we're on the road, I can keep my parents in the loop with all.
Perfect. Yeah, hiding in my sock.
Pass the Renard ball, Bell. Look at the Washington State hosting Stanford. Luke Falk throws the touchdown pass to Renard ball, Bell. Look at the fan. Forget the security. I'm coming over to bury you. Oh, no, he didn't. Oh, come on, man. Did you really? Oh, no, he didn't. Let's take a flashback to 2005. Oh, what? Uh-oh. There I am. There I am. Mama, there go that man in Lambeau Field.
The stinky load
I'm going to tell you what. Washington State fan, you're not the only one.
Well, officials have had their moments this year. First, referee Ron Torberger getting fired up for the game. Okay. Official Pete Morelli makes a call facing the wrong way. The referees want to measure, but the ball is 2 yards short of the first down. It's questionable. But worst of all,
this is the best.
The field goal is wide right, but one ref signals no good, and the other signals good. Just turn to your left. Get on the same page. Come on, man.
Start with the opener.
It was the Denver Broncos and the Baltimore Ravens. Joe Flacco's pass going to be intercepted by Danny Trevathan. He's headed for a touchdown, but flashback a couple of years, Deshaun Jackson from Donovan McNabb, and just before he crosses the goal line, we're going to slow it way down. He flipped the ball before he crossed the goal line. Danny Trevathan did the exact same thing. So I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to let Deshaun Jackson be the one to tell you.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Packers muffed the Titans punt. Watch Valentino Blake. He's pointing the wrong way.
He's your guy, man.
Come on, Blake. This way. And then the next week, Blake's at it again. The Titans receiving the punt. Ball bounces inside the 5. Blake pins his own team against the goal line, catching the ball at the 2. But there's more. Martin Wilson drops a touchdown, and then he kicks the ball. Well, you see where he kicked the ball, but look who's covering him. Blake, come on, man, for 3 straight weeks. It was contagious.
UCLA hosting Oregon. Bolu Olorunfunmi. Olorunfunmi gets the handoff, sees a crease, and he attempts to hurdle into the end zone and goes over the top of his defender. Olorunfunmi leaps up onto the shoulder pads. Comes from north. Then we have Syracuse quarterback Eric Dungy doing his Bruce Lee. Eric, be honest with me. Did you mean to actually try to leap? Or did you try to do the Bruce Lee?
White man can't jump.
If you try to leap, but look at Olorunfunmi. Attack from the sun.
It's not too bad. All right, guys, let's go to College Station, Texas. Late in the 4th quarter, A&M needs a score, but the quarterback throws an interception on the LSU sideline. Coach Ed Orgeron gets a Gatorade bath, but wait. After review, the quarterback's knee was down, negating the turnover. Unfortunately for Coach O, the Aggies got some time. They force overtime. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, Charles. Not 6, no, baby. 7 overtime.
Sound like the
and drenched in Gatorade. And guess what? LSU lost. A&M.
Check out Week 16, the Rams versus the Seahawks. Check out the punter, Johnny Hector, punt the ball deep down the middle of the field, but then he wants to take a shot at Cliff Avril while he's not looking. That was real coward-like, but that's okay. Come here. I'm going to leave you alone right now. Then later on in the game, he punts again. A little bit there. My homeboy, knock you out. I don't want no man. I was just playing with you. Going to the Pro Bowl.
We finally in the playoffs, baby. But I tell you what, during the season, there was some bad special teams plays. Look at the Steelers kicker trying this behind the back, Hall of Gold, Potter, no look. Man, I got to say, I've been playing football a long time. I've never seen that. But look at the Jets. And watch the ball bouncing to the end zone on a kickoff return, son. You got to cover that ball. We learned that in kickoff return 101. Get on the ball, man. This is unbelievable and unacceptable. You make the team on special teams. Well, that was in the frozen tundra, but we're going to take this thing down to South Beach. My Oakland Raiders against the Miami Dolphins, they dropped back for the Statue of Liberty play. Oh, wait a minute. That wasn't the Statue of Liberty play. That was a strip fumble. Marshall Newhouse. Man, you wasn't brought there to be a running back or a receiver. Don't you put your hands on that football no more, man. Look at you in the air like a helicopter.
Shake the ball, man.
Who wanted thanks for that? Man. Come on, man. The Mighty Mites of Milford, Massachusetts, boom. It's been the year of dancing. Cam Newton. Now the coach is not even coaching.